Doing water changes in the basement. I had a client come by to pick up fish, so I had to deal with him first, and then I had to go charge my phone, which is why I set it up to start at 2:55 instead of 2:20 when I first set up the live stream. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. I'm sorry I haven't been able to live stream. I just honestly 90% of the time I'm cleaning tanks, which is what I'm gonna do today. But I'm gonna be cleaning tanks while also having you guys kind of watch and what's going on and stuff. This is literally what I've been doing almost every single day for the last year and a half. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Gotta set this up here. All right. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some water out of this tank over here, which we'll look at, and because there's some babies in here. Let's look at that real quickly. So these guys are raising some babies. These actually are not their own babies. These are babies from this pair, which I'm super excited for. They laid another clutch of eggs today, which is with another pair that's taking care of those. And I just want to get, well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for being here. And just wanted to get these guys to give us a few nice clutches before I give them a chance to raise their own babies, because the first two times they laid eggs, they ended up eating them. So the second, the third, and the fourth time they laid eggs, I ended up giving the eggs to this pair for the third time, and the fourth time the eggs were laid last night, and they're with another pair in the living room in one of the racks. So we will look at those in a bit, and I'm going to set up the camera so you guys can see the fish and not me. And I'll be doing some talking. Let me know if you can hear me well. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. And I'm going to take some water out of this tank into a bucket so that I can give these guys some fresh water. Okay, so here's the tanks so you guys can see what's happening, kind of, I guess. If I move back a little bit, I think you can have a better view of things. There we go. So yeah, let me know if the audio volume is good, if you need me to speak louder or not speak as loudly. Okay, here we are. So this is gonna be fun because they do have quite a bit of babies on them, and they're gonna try to attack me, which is gonna make the babies try to, come near the siphon and stuff. There are some dead babies in the tank, which I'm gonna have to take out, and there's a lot of uneaten food and stuff, which I'm gonna have to take out. So I'm using this 1/4-inch airline tubing, and I'm sucking out all the gunk from the bottom into a bucket, a clear white bucket, and I'm gonna let that settle for a day or so, and periodically I'm gonna look into the bucket to see if I accidentally sucked out any babies, which I'm gonna try and grab with a siphon and then put back with the parents or with the surrogate parents. Now this is obviously not the most best way to breed discus by using surrogates, obviously, but it is something that can be done for specific types of discus, especially if you have a pair that you're not sure if they're going to be able to raise the babies, the first time parents, things like that, as well as discus that are predominantly white in color. They're not going to be able to produce a lot of food for the babies, and they tend not to be the greatest parents in that regard, so it is always an option to do. So to do this, you need to have all the fish breeding at the same time. So if they didn't have eggs when this happened, I would not have been able to do this. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. And I'm not taking a lot of water. I just want to get as much of the poop in the front as possible, so I can get some of that out of the tank, because I don't want it fouling the water any further. And secondarily, I want to add a bunch of fresh water in here because they desperately need a water change. So that's the agenda for this tank. But once we're done this tank, we will go around the room and clean the rest of the tanks, which you guys can join and watch me clean tanks all day. Pretty much what I do pretty much on any given day that I am not making a delivery or at work. And I haven't been working quite a lot in the last 2 months. outside the fish room. I haven't had to go to work per se every day or anything, but there has been a lot of work to be done here, so it's been definitely keeping me busy. So that's something noteworthy, is that this is a lot of work. Um, just keeping fish, breeding fish, raising fish, having this many tanks. It's a full-time job of its own, you know. So I'm really happy that Michael is also here helping out quite a bit. Pretty much 3-4 days out of the week he's here also cleaning tanks. So it is nice to have that, especially once I'm back to work full-time. Um, I can depend on him to take care of a lot of these fish when I'm at work, which is nice. So yeah, just want to say that. And if you guys are not subscribed to his channel, highly recommend subscribing to his channel. It's Fish Easy, as in E and letter Z. So it's very easy to find, and it's also called Fish Easy because he wants to help you keeping fish easy without having to do a lot of work, you know, which is nice. So his fish room is much more automated than this one, and eventually our facility will also be automated for a large degree. But I personally still like to take care of these types of fishes and my breeding tanks myself. I actually do enjoy keeping my breeding tanks clean myself without any automation, because it is quite pleasurable. Is it fun? Is it you know? Does it make me happy? I don't know if the happiness is the right word. It gives me satisfaction. You know, that means enough action, right? It gives me a lot of work, and that gives a decent amount of satisfaction, which is good. So I don't even know who's watching right now, but if you are watching, welcome to the live stream, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Join our secret chat group if you're a member. You can join the chat group where we do have regular communication with all the members, and also join Michael's channel, which has a lot of members only content. Now today's plan, I actually had a plan to make 2 brand new videos for you guys today. I was supposed to record them, but before I do that, I have to clean these tanks. And usually by the time I finish cleaning the tanks, I'm so tired that I actually don't end up making the video because of how tired I am. So that's what has been happening, and that's why the videos have been quite slow, because I'm always pooped out by the end of this process. So I figured I'm going to at least live stream what I'm doing, so you guys can get an idea. There's a baby trying to get on my hand. I'm not mom. Whoa, get out of here. Okay. And oh my god, this guy. He's trying to attach to my hand. He got separated from the parents. Okay, he's finding his way back that way. So anywho, once I finish cleaning, I'm usually tired. I want to just have a beer and go to sleep, or eat some food and go to sleep, you know what I mean? And I don't end up making any videos because of how tired I am. Even yesterday, I wanted to live stream before Michael around 7 o'clock, but I was still at the airport yesterday at 7 o'clock dropping off fish. So we had an order of black rams going out to Alberta. We had another order going to Toronto yesterday morning, which half of them were going to go to Alberta on Monday, as well as an order of fish going to London, Ontario, which Michael ended up delivering. So all these things happened yesterday, and I barely had time to eat. I actually only ate one meal last night, or yesterday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and I haven't eaten since then. So, and I'm not even hungry, like honestly. So it's crazy, you know. So that's what I've been dealing with for the last, I would say, 6 months to a year regularly, plus having to work. But you know, now this is a lot of work too. A lot of these fish require more constant care. We have a lot of discus. We'll look at quite a bit of them now. So yeah, that's what's been going on. And now you guys are gonna get to watch me clean tanks. Also, I would do this more often if YouTube didn't have an issue with music playing in the background, because I do like to have music playing when I clean tanks. It kind of makes the whole thing go by pretty effortlessly, I would say. Like it's more enjoyable that way because music is playing and it's almost like a party. You know what I mean? But because of the copyright issues and stuff like that, I cannot play any music um, while I'm live streaming. So that's an issue also. So that's one of the other hindrances that I've had. But today I'm going to sacrifice listening to music so I can engage and connect with you guys and girls um, to have some sort of live stream today so that I give you guys at least a little bit of content once a week. So that's the plan today. And did anybody watch Michael's live stream yesterday? It was quite nice. He was showing, well, he had Saki with him, so Saki was doing a lot of the filming. But he was showing some of his live food and stuff. But the one thing I know is for the life of me, I cannot keep those cultures alive. Like, I ended up killing the Paramecia cultures while Michael was in the US a few months ago. So that was an interesting experience because he ended up leaving all the Paramecia with me. And I ended up killing them. Wow, there's 19 of you guys watching. Amazing. Who else is here? Let me say hi to everyone. Okay, shift the camera. I look like a mess, okay? I haven't even had a haircut in a while. He did, Mr. C. If you clean it like Craig, YouTube will eventually shut. What happened to Craig? Did YouTube shut him down? I haven't been paying attention, What's going on, Ella Fish Tanks? What's going on, Shady Grady? Jeff is here. Chris, what's going on, Chris? I haven't seen you in a while. Need an automatic water change system so you can make YouTube content again. Yes, I do need automatic water changes. But PVC is damn expensive, eh? Yeah, honestly, I've been looking at it. It's quite expensive. What's going on, Red Laser? Parisio Placos, what's going on, bud? How you doing? Who else is here? Fish Fam Links, hello. Kiro, right. And then Chris says, how have you been doing, Malik? Mostly focusing on fish room. That's good. Yes, I've been honestly focusing on fish room. Honestly, there's 150 plus tanks in here, and it takes up a lot of my time. I'm not joking, And we clean these tanks almost 3-4 times a week, so it is a lot of work. And Coro says, don't forget the like button. Yes, don't forget that like button. What's going on, Connor? Finsanity, what's up? Do I have you on the chat? I do have you on the chat. If you're a member and not on the chat, message me and I'll add you to the chat. Just send me a message on Facebook after the stream saying I'm a member and add me to the chat. And Ed's picking up cichlids. Nice. What's going on, Ed? Fish fam, Who else did I miss? Say hi to Ed. Paul, what's going on, Paul? Paul Hardwick. Hello. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. What's going on, Imaro? Check your text. Well, yeah, I know who you are now. I forgot. I didn't miss anybody, right? Okay, so we got the water out of this tank. Now it's the fun part, which is the workload. But look at these guys, they're going crazy. They both want the babies. They're really good parents. I mean, they're not the best parents per se, because they fight sometimes and but the babies are, at this point, they're good enough to attach. There's quite a bit of them, man, maybe about 20 or so. I'm very happy with that. And any of these fish from this pair is highly welcome. They're a gorgeous pair of fish. Let's look at them quickly. All right, let's get the Basileir container out of there for a second. All right, let's look at these guys. There we go. So that's the female in the back. She's really pretty, and that's the male. They're called red valentines, but they're just basically red melons with more coverage. The male has full coverage, and the female has a little bit of her face that's not red. It's kind of orangey, but the gorgeous fish. Good solid red on him. Look at this guy. He's really pretty. I really like him. So these fish are available for sale in a few months. As soon as we get a few spawns, we will, pass them on to another person. What's going on, aqua balls? But they are here for now. And if anybody's interested and want to know how much they are $600 Canadian for the pair. Okay, so just so you know, they will be available for sale in the summertime. Okay, so we're gonna do water changes. I'll put the camera like here-ish, and also I think what Craig was doing was just having the YouTube running without him saying anything. I think they don't like that. Although there are like channels like, I think there's an aquarium channel like the aquarium TV channel or whatever that is, where they just have a an aquarium loop and they just keeps looping for hours and hours and end, and people watch that. So I don't know why YouTube would have a problem with it. Maybe, I don't know. YouTube's been weird lately too, so it's all going communist, Anywho, we're gonna start cleaning tanks and beat the communists. So here we are. Okay. All right. So in terms of water changes, I don't know if you guys can hear me well. Let me know if you can't. Message me if there's an issue. I do have my iPad down here, so if anybody messages me on Facebook, I will get the message on my iPad and I can check it periodically to make sure that the stream is on and you guys can hear me and all that good jazz. Okay. All right. And don't judge me for my pink pants, because these are the only pants I have that are clean today, because it is also laundry day. I do live alone, so I have to do all these things myself, which is not bad. I'm not complaining or anything, but it's life. It is what it is. All right. Didn't drink any tank water. Sometimes I do end up drinking tank water because I put the siphon in. I try to siphon out, and a bunch of water gets shot up onto my throat from the siphon because there's water already in the siphon. Also, this pair that I'm doing a water change in right now has a bunch of eggs, so we're not really going to fill it back up. We're just taking water out of this tank and the poop from last night. Now, mind you, all these tanks got water changes yesterday, or actually not yesterday, on Thursday. Yesterday we didn't do any water changes because we had so many deliveries to make and so many shipments going out. So Thursday, every tank in the house got a water change. And now, if we go around and look at some of the tanks, it would look like we haven't cleaned those tanks for more than a week. This tank is not bad. It's just I like to clean it every day, especially when there's eggs. But when there are eggs, I don't put any water in, usually, unless I'm also trying to bring the TDS down a little bit because it wasn't where it needs to be when the eggs were laid. So these guys are not happy with me right now because I'm putting a tube into their tank and disturbing them, but they're a really good pair. They're very good parents. We do have some babies from them. And they were also born in our own facilities. They were not born here. These fish were born at Fish Easy's location when the discus pairs used to be at his place. So if you haven't followed along, you can go back and watch some of his earlier videos and live streams from 2 years ago when all the discus pairs used to be at his house. And so these fish were born here in Brampton in our own tanks, and they've been raised in this house for at least a year and a half. And so they're really good fish, very healthy, very good, amazing parents. I really like them. I mean, they still, the odd time, they won't eat their eggs or babies. The last time they did eat their own eggs as well as a surrogate clutch of eggs that I gave to them to raise. So, even really good parents can occasionally be, problematic. So you gotta give them their chances. You really can't raise discus on your own. I mean, you can if you really want to, but it's very, very difficult. It's a lot of work, and also those fish that are raised by hand don't end up becoming good parents. So you're really doing yourself a huge disservice if you're gonna try and raise them by hand. if you also want to breed them afterwards, because they're not going to end up being good parents, because they also lose some of that parenting skill by not being raised by the parents. So that's something interesting that I found with a lot of fish, with rams, with angels, with discus. If you are going to try and raise them yourself, chances are high that you're, okay, let me move the eggs so I can see them, and the parents can see them. You're not doing yourself any favors by trying to raise them yourself, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, you get these little bits of crud out of this tank. It's not so dirty, this one. But they're big fish, you know. Discus are large fish. They produce a lot of waste. I do have an interesting, I guess, something interesting that I realized is that having a layer of sand seems to be very beneficial. Now, I don't have any sand in these tanks, but I do have a wild pair upstairs where I didn't even have to do as many water changes because the sand is there, and there's snails in the sand which eat the poop pits, which seems to keep the tank a lot cleaner than what I can do myself by even doing daily water changes. So that's something interesting that I've discovered in the last few months, where in that tank with sand I have, I actually, for the most part, I just fill it up with tap water just to keep the pH up above like 6. And aside from that, I do nothing else. Every like month or so, I end up having to take some water out of there, which, you know, it's about maybe 10% of the water, and then the rest of the time I just fill it up with tap water to compensate for the evaporation and to keep the pH up. That's pretty much all I seem to have to do for that tank with sand. And the eggs in that tank have 100%, almost 100% hatch rate, which is quite interesting, you know. So I want to try and experiment with that with some of these things. So now I have to convince Michael that that is something we should try, because he is completely against having sand and snails. He's very anti-snails. So something interesting though that I've encountered with having that tank, you know, where it is, and with having the sand in there, that it does seem to help. So something to consider also. So as I do more research onto that, more experiments, I will let you guys know what the results are, if we're going to have better success or not, or, you know, when we live stream, you'll be able to see the difference in the level of success that you might have with having a sand there, compared to a bare bottom breeding. Now, again, is it the conventional method of doing things? Hell no. Hell no. Nobody does that. I mean, no other discus breeders that I've ever seen. So it might not be the most ideal way of doing things. It might not be conventional. Here, I'm gonna be cleaning the top tanks. So let me set the camera up for you guys to go up there. Anywho, my point is, just because it's not conventional doesn't mean that it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? Yeah, everybody else is doing it a specific way, but maybe that's because nobody else has tried anything differently, right? So that's a big possibility. You know, so I definitely like doing that. That's how we have all the success with the black rams, for example. It was through trial and error. Um, you know, we didn't know that they were gonna be good parents, but we decided to try and let them raise some babies, and they did a better job than we did. So it seemed to have helped quite a lot. And also another thing I learned breeding rams, black rams more specifically, is that here, let me switch over and say this, is that having the green algae on the bottom and the side surfaces seems to be so beneficial in keeping those really tiny things alive. So a completely sterile tank is definitely not a type of tank we will be I use to breed black rams. We will go up to the black rams room. The tanks are, you know, it does need some attention, but we're not going to do that. We're going to finish down here, but at the end of this video there are some black rams that that we produced you know, out of 1,000, there's always going to be a few deformed ones. So there's some deformed ones left over, which we're going to end up feeding to our brand new red-tailed catfish, which we have upstairs. They're pretty nice size now. What's going on, fish class fish? First class fish. That's a tongue twister. So anywho, we're going to go up and feed those red-tailed catfish at the end of this video. And also feed all the fish down here and in the living room, because I want to finish this and feed them and not have to come down here to do anything else. So as we're doing that, we will go look at those tanks where the black rams are actively breeding, and you'll see what I'm talking about, how dirty the tanks are to us, but how healthy that is for the black rams, especially for breeding. You know what I mean? So that's something I'm gonna experiment with these guys here, because this sterile environment system is not working as well as I expect it to. You know what I mean? There's so much challenges with it. So I'm gonna try something with these tanks. Not all of them, but maybe one or two of them. So I will continue to update you guys as that comes along. Okay, so now let's go up here and look at the fish. Oh, here we go. This is as high as my camera can go, but I'm gonna be cleaning these guys. Okay? Okay. So there we go. All right. So we're in here with our suction tube. Hopefully it still has water in it. Yes, it does. Thank God. All right. And so I'm gonna suck out all the poopies in here real quickly. Um, these guys are dirty fish. These two fish are quite dirty. But again, I had some really interesting incident with this pair of fish as well, where I had them upstairs in the living room, where their tank was very dirty. The bottom had like maybe, you know, like a couple of millimeters of poop and uneaten food and everything, and they laid eggs, and I put a mesh on it. That was the first time they laid eggs, and I put a mesh on it, and all the eggs hatched. Almost every single egg hatched with all that gunk and poop in the tank. You know what I mean? So that was a very interesting thing that I observed. And I've also had that same success with angels, where when the tank is not so clean, you know, I have 100% hatch rate, you know, whereas when I have a sterile tank, maybe 50% of the eggs might hatch, if that. You know what I mean? Sometimes the entire batch will go bad, although the tank is very sterile, RO water, and all these other fancy things. Whereas, you know, more naturalistic setup seems to have a way higher success rate. Okay, so that has been my experience. Now, I'm not saying to anybody here that you should not clean your tanks. You should always have your tanks. The water needs to be, you know, in good condition for your fish to stay alive and healthy and stuff. So you can't neglect it. But all I'm saying is that a certain level of mom and detritus and stuff seems to be beneficial. Okay, even in this tank, they had their own eggs, which did not hatch, or maybe 4 eggs hatch out of like 100. But because they had eggs, I couldn't really do a lot of water changes. The water, there was a lot of gunk and debris we just cleaned out on the bottom, right? And at that point, the second batch of eggs I put in there 3 days later ended up hatching, because there was, I mean, I'm not saying it's because there was more gunk and debris, but the only different factor between the two clutches of eggs was that one clutch was in more dirtier water, which ended up hatching. Okay? So that was a very interesting observation. And these are observations that I made in the last 2 weeks or so, because I've been really focusing on the discus, just trying to get more success with the spawns and stuff, because I kind of neglected them for a few months, because I was so focused on working with the rams and other stuff. And now I'm more focused on the discus and the zebra plagos for the next few months, and maybe, you know, focus a little bit on the rams as well. But we do have quite a bit of rams, and we are selling quite a lot of them. If anybody is interested in rams, we have the blackest black rams in the whole world. They are from the original Israeli lines, which we got from Israel, and they're gorgeous, and they're black, and they're not mixed with anything else, and they're pure strain black rams. And we can supply, we do supply all of GTA, and also, you know, most of Ontario. We do have several different wholesalers. If you are a store, or if you know a store, or if your local store wants them, We also can ship them all across the country, across Canada, and we can also get them to the eastern United States. So if you're in the eastern United States, about 3 hours from the border or less, you can drive to us and pick them up, or you can also get them shipped or delivered to you, as long as you're willing to pay for our time and gas for that. Okay, let me get the camera down here. All right. In 1 second. So that's the deal with the black rams, but we do have quite a lot, and we did send some to New York. Um, and the gentleman has not had a lot of success with that batch, so he did lose some of them, but he did still sell quite a bit, and so I think he's going to pick up some more soon, and when that happens I'll let you guys know when the next batch is going to New York, and you can get some at that point. We do have rams, yes. What's going on, Joanne? What's going on, Amaro? JT keeping fish. What's going on? What's going on? And if I missed anything, anyone? Fusion here. What's going on, guys? First class fish. Said hi to. Hope everybody's having a great Saturday. Um, Mike Pope, what's up, bud? Haven't seen you in a while. Haven't seen any of you guys in a while, so I'm glad I'm doing this right now. Aquaball George says, "You, yeah, just down in the future, I will put some 240 when I breed them and have a bunch of fry growing." Nice. Yeah, I haven't had a lot of success breeding Ultums yet, but although I don't have a lot of Ultums, I only have one Ultum right now, so not much breeding happening with one fish. Tell you that. All right, so let's get back to cleaning fish tanks. All right, so we're gonna clean the tank that you're looking at right now, and it's actually not that dirty. These two fish, for some reason, are a clean pair. They don't dirty up their tank as much. They eat all the food. They don't spit out any leftover food. They don't make a lot of waste. I mean, they're still poop in here because they still convert a lot of that food into poop. Pretty much all the food gets converted into poop, I guess. But they're more cleaner pair of fish. I do like taking care of these two fish because they don't dirty up the tank as much as some of the other pairs. Some of the other pairs are dirty. I mean, they're all dirty fish. They all produce a lot of waste. And that's one of the other reasons why I want to put sand at the bottom of the tanks. Because if there is sand down here, that's going to create a new biological environment, you know. It's going to promote beneficial bacteria and dispel negative bacteria, you know. So I think it's also healthier for the fish. That's just my assessment so far with sand. In my experience, like, I mean, the Pleco breeding tanks all have sand in them, and I have to do like barely any maintenance in those tanks. It's just a water change. There's no poop being built up. The snails convert all the poop into snail food, and then into snail poop, which goes into the sand bed, and then, you know, denitrifying bacteria and other things can deal with that, you know. So and then water changes can take out the nitrates. So there's a lot of benefits to having sand, and I'm finding that I'm struggling with the tanks, especially the breeding tanks. The grow out tanks I don't mind as much being bare bottom. I actually prefer the grow out tanks to be bare bottom, but I definitely think there's some benefit to having sand in the breeding tank. So I might try that actually with the discus breeding tanks. Because the one problem we have with discus is we can't let the algae grow. At least we haven't tried letting the algae grow, you know, on the glass and stuff, which again the baby discus seem to be attracted to. But honestly, in my experience, what I've found is when the baby discus are healthy, they don't have that problem of being attached to a glass or anything like that. Like I have a black filter in here, and my baby discus is still attached to the parents when they're healthy. So I think it has more to do with the health of the baby as opposed to its desire to attach to any black surface. Because there's a black filter in here, there's a black heater in here, there's a black you know, sponge filter in here, and they don't seem to go to that. So I think a lot of the things that we believe in the hobby are also BS, to be completely honest. People, they want the tank to be completely white and clean and looking like a medical facility essentially. Animals don't live in medical facilities, unfortunately. Animals, the only time, and even people don't live in medical facilities. We're not designed to live like that. We're designed to live with dirt and grime and bacteria and all these different things. If we don't get exposed to these things, then we can actually get sick. You know what I mean? So, like, our stomachs have a decent amount of bacteria in it, which helps us digest our food. There's bacteria living in our skin, breaking down the dead skin cells. You know what I mean? There's bacteria living in our hair. There's bacteria living in our mouths. There's bacteria living everywhere. And these are all helpful, healthy bacteria. And when these bacteria are dead, there's a lot of potential chance of unhealthy bacteria growing in those places. So that's something to consider. So these are things I've been thinking about. I've been talking to a few different people about this, mostly like other fish keepers that have like various experiences with different things like this. So my good friend Thomas, I've been talking to him earlier today actually. We do have a new video planned that we're gonna make together. I'm gonna make the video, but he sent me the basic outline after our conversations. He sat down and spent the time to write it up. You know what I mean? And then his thoughts and my thoughts cohesively into one video. So that's coming out. I was supposed to record that today, but I didn't think I would get there after cleaning these tanks, which is why you guys are getting the live stream right now. Okay? So like this video if you're still watching. If you're new here, subscribe and do all that good stuff. Help me promote this channel through the algorithm, you know what I mean? But yeah, so the conversation I had with Thomas was also quite interesting, and he agreed with me to the largest part that, what I was talking about, it made sense. And then we talked about various other things with keeping our plecos alive, and basically we're both convinced that a lot of people that keep plecos are killing their fish with love. So what I mean by that real quickly is I'm going to give you guys a summary of what that video is going to be. Okay, let me switch the camera here. There we go. So I find a lot of times people post videos and pictures of their fish bloated and unable to pass, and they're extremely fat and all these things, and they end up dying. The plecos, fancy plecos, 236, L46 zebra plecos, things like that, and you wonder why this animal is getting this to this point and how is it dying. So we're now convinced that these animals are dying because the pleco keeper loves their fish too much. What we mean by that, and what I mean by that, is that a lot of us tend to overfeed our fish with this super high caloric food, okay? Because you have the innate belief that you want your fish to be happy and healthy and nice and plump. Fish seem to be pleasing to the eye, like a goldfish. But a pleco is not supposed to look like that. A healthy pleco should always be hungry. My friend actually, another subscriber and a channel member here, messaged me the other day and said that his fish will not eat basilar. Because the basilar is a basic food. It doesn't have too high of an amount of calories. It has a lot of protein and stuff. It's very healthy for the fish, but the fish will not overeat it. If it's not hungry, it will not eat the basilar. So my fish are always hungry. They're not getting extra food. They're getting less food than they need. So they have to go around looking for food, and as supplementary food I feed my zebra plecos oak leaves, and now we're also feeding them guava leaves, which we are importing here into Canada, which has been really great, and they seem to really enjoy that. Now that's a very low caloric food. It barely has any nutritional value, but they eat it because they're hungry. That keeps them constantly fed. And then I feed the basilar on a daily basis to give them their basic food every day, and they're still hungry. And then once a week or every other week I give them a little bit of ebo, some kind of bug bites or something like that as power food. Now that triggers spawning. I might, if my fish stops spawning for like a month or two, I would give them ebo for like, let's say, 2 days, and bug bites for a day or two, and at the end of that they're nice and fed, and then they get back to spawning, couple of water changes, and they're back on the game, right? But they don't get ebo every day because that stuff is so high in calories, your fish can easily die from it. Ebo is one of them. Pleco special. I've killed zebra pleco babies with pleco special. I would never feed it to baby plecos, although it's a very high protein food. But basilar, I don't have that problem. They will not eat any more than they can. There will be leftover basilar if I put more than what they can eat. You know what I mean? So the next morning I would have to siphon it out. That's how less likely they are to overeat with the basilar. So what we have come to the conclusion is that we as fish keepers overfeed our fish expecting them to breed, but they're not. So that's the video. That's the premise of the video. And Thomas is a medical doctor, so he also agrees with me on this. And I've dated women that are slightly obese or somewhat obese, still good looking, but you know, on the plus size of the weight scale, right? And I've seen this in real life where a lot of them have irregular periods and stuff. You know what I mean? So what Thomas said to me yesterday, actually, when we talked about it last night at like 2 o'clock in the morning, we were on FaceTime, and he said to me, it is very likely that, you know, obesity hampers reproduction. So essentially, if your fish is overweight, then it is probably less likely to be able to reproduce because the the obesity has caused the animal's reproductive cycle as well as the hormonal cycle to go completely out of whack. And this, there's clear evidence of this in the medical literature as well. I mean, Thomas is the medical doctor. He's the one who agreed with me on this and pointed out that when women you know, are obese, they don't have regular periods, which means their menstrual cycle is disrupted. Without your menstrual cycle, you're not making eggs. You know what I mean? So uh, how is that translated to our fish? We are trying to get our fish to breed, and you want your fish to produce eggs. Your female fish might not be able to produce eggs if its hormonal cycle is disrupted, and obesity could be a factor in disrupting the hormonal cycle of your fish. So that's something to keep in mind. And so this is a very interesting topic for me because I've experienced this, you know, what he was explaining to me in real life. I've seen it in humans. I've also seen it in animals. Fat fish never seem to be good breeders. You know, like if you have a fish that's always constantly eating, the males especially, they don't end up being good dads. They end up eating all the eggs. The females, they don't seem to produce eggs. The fatter females never produce eggs. So I've noticed that. You know what I mean? Like fish need to be at a healthy weight. You know, that's something to consider. Um, Thank you. All right, so let's get back to water changes because I need to do this so I can get back to you know, being a normal person, or at least have a few hours in the evening to drink a beer. All right. Okay, so let's bring this guy up again, and I'm gonna be cleaning the top tanks again. So I have a system on how I clean these tanks, which is essentially um, I do the breeding tanks first, then I do the two tanks that are above the breeding tanks next, and then there's tanks that have specific fish that I clean next. So we're in here right now, okay? So don't be looking at my R's, okay? Just letting you guys know. And these babies were born here a few months ago to this pair. Okay, so that's the mom and dad of most of these babies. These brown ones were born at a pet store. So the pet store had these babies at the pet store, and he didn't know what to do with them. They were still on a cone, so I put a bag into the tank. I took the whole cone and dipped it into the bag, and I shook it off and managed to save maybe 50 or so eggs or hatchlings that were still vigorous. Brought them home, gave it to the mom and dad of these fish, who raised them for me. Um, and now we have both the red ones and the orange ones growing up together. There's another group of these upstairs, not as many as here. They're slightly larger, and yeah, so we are doing good with the discus. Here, okay, so let's clean this tank real quickly, and I'm hoping my siphon is still running. Okay, yes, the siphon is still holding. Praise God. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. Um, Comment and let me know if you are doing water changes while listening to me and stuff like that. A lot of you have messaged me and told me that you guys missed the live streams because on the weekends You either watch it on the replay while you're doing water changes, or you're already doing water changes while you're watching the live streams. So let me know if you guys are do enjoy that. I mean, I do enjoy that sometimes too. I have somebody stream or podcast playing in the background while I do water changes. But for the most part, I personally prefer to have music on. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like listening to people, but when I'm doing work, I'm not trying to learn anything. And most of the live streams I like to watch are very informative and educational. And I miss a lot of important things if I'm not paying attention to what's happening on the live stream, if I'm busy cleaning tanks and stuff. So I personally enjoy having music on when I live stream. But I do actually enjoy talking to you guys as well. I feel like somebody else is here right now, listening to me or sitting next to me, you know, just quietly listening, or every once in a while asking a question, whatever, while I clean tanks, which is also a nice feeling. It's not bad. So this is quite enjoyable. So we might try to do this more often. Um, so here we go. So I just want to get these tanks clean today, just because I don't want to wait till Monday, and I'm not trying to clean any of these tomorrow because I have to clean the third floor. This house has 3 floors, and there's tanks on every floor, and the third floor has the most amount of tanks, but they're smaller tanks. They're like 10-gallon tanks for the most part. There's some 35 gallons, you know, where I have Placo breeding groups and stuff. But it's going to be mostly 10 gallons. We're moving a lot of those tanks out, and replacing them with 10-gallon tanks because I want to have more smaller breeding pairs of fish like angels and rams and stuff like that in those 10 gallons. And we're also looking at getting another location. So that is in the works. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon or not. I don't want to spill any beans, but stay tuned on this channel as well as Fish Easy channel to know when that is happening, and all the little updates and details that will come your way as it does, whenever it does happen, you know, God willing. I'm not rushing anything because there's no point in rushing. We have our whole lives in front of us, and if it's something that God intends us to have and do, it will happen, whether we like it or not, right? So I don't want to force anything. I don't want to rush anything. I don't like doing that. I believe in God, and I believe that His purpose is what's going to end up happening regardless of what we do. We have no choice in the matter. You know, we might feel like we have free will. We might feel like we have control, but we really don't. So I like to live according to His will, and as things come about, that way I'm not disappointed or surprised or caught off guard, because I know it's all His plan, and I know it's always going to work out at the end. I'm not worried. You know what I mean? Like, so that's something I want to put there and say that that's why there's no set dates on anything. There's no rushing. It's whenever it happens, whenever it's His time, His plan, then it will happen. Until that time, it will not happen. There's nothing I can do to force it to happen any faster or make it happen any slower than it's meant to happen. So just enjoy the damn ride. You know what I mean? Sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just how I think about things. As I get older and stuff, there's, you know, I've lived through quite a bit in my lifespan. So you know, like, I've seen all kinds of atrocities and stuff. So like I'm not you know, in any sort of denial of anything. You know what I mean? I'm very very aware of the realities of living with other people that are savage. You know, and so you have to expect anything to happen at any time, and you have to be prepared for that eventuality, as well as you have to, you know, kind of be prepared to deal with whatever comes, and know that whatever comes, you have the strength to deal with it. So that's just how I live. Anyways, this tank is sufficiently clean. I could take all the water out of it if I wanted to, because I always find there's like little bits of poopies floating everywhere. I don't know. You probably won't show up on camera. There's obviously, it's not like, you know, dirty or whatever, but there's always little tiny little specks of gunk that get, that's still in the water column. When I move the wand around, it gets moved and gets, I guess, off the ground, and it starts floating around in the tank. So I can spend an hour in here and take out all the water. And if I keep talking to you guys and keep siphoning, I will end up doing that. So I think I'm sufficiently happy with where things are in here. And so let's move on to the next one. Okay. All right. So we're gonna move on to the next tank, which is over here. Move the camera around. Okay, so let me know if you guys think that this is how Craig was live streaming, or is it any different than this? Because I don't want YouTube to kick me out. I do like having the channel so that I can communicate with you guys and stuff, and keep bringing you knowledge and fun stuff. A lot of good channels have been kicked out of YouTube for like stupid things, right? Because they keep changing their terms of conditions and stuff like that. So yeah. Anywho, we're cleaning these guys. This is actually one of those things which I don't know why, but it's very easy to keep clean. It gets dirty really fast because there's a lot of big fish in there. We'll come back and look at them in a second. There's mama and dad, and all the babies that were born the last spawn they were successful with, that are all here. Well, these are not all the babies. We did sell quite a bit of these, but these are the ones I want to keep to grow out for myself. So we're keeping this group of fish to get pairs, and there's quite a bit of fish that are here that we're keeping for that purpose, to get pairs. I'm not breeding discus right now to make money. Okay, I'm breeding discus right now to get breeding fish, so that we have a breeding group of fish, maybe 20 pairs of nice high quality fish that are born here, that have been raised here, that are going to be good parents, that were not messed with by hormones and other things, so that when we do want to make money from discus in the next year or so, we have a good amount of breeders to actually become profitable. So right now, breeding discus for us does make some money. It's not like without any profit or anything like that. It is profitable, but it is not for profit that we're breeding discus right now. We are breeding black rams for profit, and it is quite lucrative. It is basically what's paying all the bills right now. And even when we didn't have any angels or German rams to sell in the last 2 months, we were still able to be above water and make a really good profit selling black rams. We have about 1,000 black rams in stock, and we produce about 1,000 every month. Although in March, I'm thinking I'm only going to produce maybe 500, just because a few of my breeding pairs are old and we retired a few, and a couple died, and we only have about half the amount of breeders. Although they do produce twice as big of a batch now as adults, fully grown adult fish, as opposed to when they were younger. So, but in March and April, if we are making 500 black rams per month, I'm happy with that. And after May, we will go back to producing 1,000 a month, and be able to supply the rest of the year with a whole bunch of black rams for most of North America. We do have ability to ship to the U.S. Obviously, any order we're shipping out has to be at least 100 fish. We can ship all across Canada. You pay shipping airport to airport. It's $175 to Alberta. It's about $150 to $175 to BC. And this is actual shipping cost through WestJet. We will make a WestJet account, which might bring the shipping cost down about another 20% or so, but it's going to be around the same price, $150 to $200 for the shipping and the cost of the fish. So it is not worth it for you to buy one fish or two fish. I will actually not go to the airport for one or two fish. But if you're buying at least 10 fish at full retail price, then we can also ship you that. Or you can buy 100 fish at wholesale price, which would probably be a little bit more than what 10 fish at retail would cost. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind. But we do have quite a lot of black rams, and we can't seem to keep them in stock, which is a nice thing, Praise God for that. I'm not complaining about it. but it is difficult to keep them in stock because people come here and they buy it. I mean, yesterday alone we sent out like 180 or 200 fish in one day, you know, and most of those fish were going to Alberta actually, almost 150 of them, or more than 100 were going to Alberta. The rest were for GTA and all that. You can also buy our black rams here in Toronto at Big Al's, Mississauga. They're available at Big Al's Brampton. They're available at Big Al's Scarborough. You can ask for them by name. Say, do you have any Aquamalik black rams in stock right now? You can contact them, and if they don't have it, they will order it in. But these guys have been stocked recently. You can also buy them at Big Al's Vaughan. They haven't actually got any right now, but we do have to drop some off for them. You can also buy them through various other pet stores throughout the city, including Tails and Scales. Tails and Scales actually has quite a bit of these guys right now that's available for sale today. So if you're in Toronto and you want black rams, they're $40 each at Tails and Scales, and they are our fish. So yeah, and if you have a particular store that you deal with and they don't have any in stock and they buy from us, you can let them know, get black rams from Aquamalik. If you have a store that is not buying from us, let them know that we have black rams for all of North America at a very competitive price, and we guarantee our fish. If our fish die in your tanks, in the pet store tanks, within the first few days of them getting them, usually even after if they die of natural causes, but that never happens. We will replace them. Yesterday we sent a couple of hundred fish out, and not a single one was dead. There was no complaints, there was no issues, and I didn't have to replace anybody's fish, which was really nice. Although we did send extra fish in each order, so even if one order died, they wouldn't have had any issues because each order had, at least 4, 5, 6 extra fish per order. Okay, so we're gonna go around and clean this tank. Some gorgeous fish in there. Okay. If you guys do super chat or message or anything like that, I'm sorry that I'm not messaging, responding to them because I'm not seeing the screen. I just want to get this done because there's a lot of work still to do in this house today, and I still have to do my damn laundry. It never ends, my friends. It never ends. But I always think about it. What are we here for? Like, what is the purpose, right? Are we just here to be a meat sack and consume and consume and consume and die, or are we here to actually do something with our lives? To contribute to humanity, to our species, to preserving life on the planet, things like that. Like, to advancing our understanding of life, not just our own lives, but also the lives of like animals, like these guys here, So I think that's a much more loftier goal than just being a bloody meat sack. So, that's why I do what I do. This is not to make money, although it does make money. It does pay for the bills and stuff. I do it because I quite enjoy keeping these animals. I enjoy learning about these animals. After 40 years of keeping fish and almost 25 plus years of having experience with discus, and keeping angels and rams for almost the same amount of time, and breeding fish for 35 plus years, there's still a lot that I don't know. Do you know what I mean? There's still a lot that I don't know. There's still a lot of questions that I have that are not answered. What I'm finding is most of the knowledge that we have is anecdotal. It is not scientific. It is not based on any research. Nobody has done controlled experiments. The people that are keeping their tanks pristinely clean, and the discus is a very good example for that. Discus breeding tanks, usually when you see a video of discus breeding tanks, there's not a speck of dust in them, you know what I mean? But nobody has done any research to find out if that is actually beneficial to the animal, how beneficial it is to the health of that animal, the long-term survivability of that animal, as well as the breeding of that animal. Like, there's no actual test. There's no control experiment. So we just go by what other people have done, and we all think that is exactly how it's supposed to be, right? camera around because I need to get to the other side. Here we are. Okay. All right. Can you see? Hey. All right. I'm probably very sweaty right now. It is really hot in this house. We heat the whole house. We don't heat individual tanks. Although some of these tanks down here do have heaters, just to keep them above like 84, 83 degrees. Especially the grow-out tanks where we have baby discus and stuff. It's nice to have some level of control of temperature because it is the basement of the house, and it does get quite cold down here in the winter at some certain days, you know. So, but even then, I find these top level tanks that are on the top level stay at about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. If all the heaters went out, or if I forgot to turn them back on after a water change or something like that, which has happened quite a bit. It actually happens at least once a week for us, where we forget to turn the heaters back on. And when I check the temperatures, the top tanks usually stay at about 80 degrees. If it's really cold, it goes to about 78, 77. The bottom tanks, however, can get down to about 74 degrees when it's really cold. But if it's not really cold, like a day like today, when it's like only like -5 outside to +5 outside, it will only get to about 78 degrees on the bottom tanks. So, you know, this house stays relatively warm. Clearly, we're burning a lot of gas for it. We burn like maybe $500 worth of gas in the winter per month, but it's worth it, you know what I mean? My electric bill is only like $250 in the winter for this whole house. And that's because we're not using a lot of heating. We're using gas for our heating, which is the best source of heating in Canada. Electricity is not a good source for heating. It's going to be super expensive if you go with a heat pump. I'll tell you that right now. Like my neighbors have one, and their heat pump is only on like very like my next door neighbor. I've seen their heat pump, and it doesn't seem to work in our winters when it gets past a certain temperature. It doesn't seem to warm up the house, and it's just burning electricity at that point. And what they use is a wood burning stove that is circulating hot air throughout the rest of the house. Aside from the heat pump, that's what they actually had in the place, and that's what they use to heat their home, and that seems to be very economical because wood is very cheap to buy. My friend Thomas, who lives in Belgium, has a pellet burning stove and a heat pump, and he said the same thing. He buys so much pellets, like wood pellets, for his pellet burning stove, which heats up the whole house, and the heat pumps only do supplementary heating. So the heat pumps are not a good source of heating homes in Canada or anywhere that's actually cold, despite what the politicians might like to tell you. So something to keep in mind. So we are cleaning this tank up here now. I will turn to the tank so you guys can see what I'm working on, and then I will get to my trusty chair and I will go over there and start cleaning the tank. So you guys can see, I guess from here maybe. There we go. You can see what I'm doing, right? I'm sorry that I'm not responding to any of you at this exact moment, but I need to clean all these bottoms first before I start refilling them, and once we start refilling, I'll be more engaging, and hopefully try not to flood any of the tanks because I don't like to clean up after if I do make a mess. So let's try not to make a mess today, okay? Yes, God willing. All right. You know, I got into fish as a little child. This has been my passion since I was a little kid, and it has been a very positive source of inspiration in my life. It got me real close to my faith, my religion. You know, even from a small age, going to Sunday school. You know, just so that I could go and buy fish afterwards because all the people that bred fish lived next to the church. It's a huge hobby in Sri Lanka. There's a lot of people that are Christians in the coastline where I used to live, and Roman Catholics, and Jehovah's Witnesses, Seventh-day Adventists, all the different denominations you can imagine under the sun, Episcopalians, You know what I mean? And the one common thing they all have is they all believe in the exact same God, and and so does the Muslims and the Jews, but that's a different topic. And also they love their fish. You know what I mean? Christians love their fish. As a child, that was a one big thing I noticed, and I love my fish too. So I love Christians. You know, I just basically love anybody who loves fish. You know, so essentially extension, you guys as well, because you guys all love fish. That's why you're watching this channel, right? You're watching this video right now because you like fish, right? So I love you because you love fish. So yeah. But yeah, this is a fun tank to clean. It's, you know, these guys are big. They're wild, first generation from wild parents, as far as we can tell. We bred them here. These guys are exactly a year old, and they're about 6 inches big. And I'm not keeping any of these fish, although these were the fish I picked out, hand-picked from a group of about 60 fish to keep, to grow out and to keep for ourselves. All the other ones were sold off, you know, just so that we can make space for these guys here. And I don't want to keep them anymore, so I am selling this entire group of 12 fish, and they are for sale. So if anybody's interested and you're in the Greater Toronto area, or in the US actually, if you're in the eastern United States and you want to buy this group of fish for a good price, you know, I mean, they're not cheap. These guys are $150 each. That's what I'm selling them for, retail. If you go to the pet store, they'll be $300. Or anybody else that's importing them, they'll be $300 fish. They're first generation wild, so they're bred in captivity, but they look like a wild fish. They're gorgeous. There's 12 fish in here, I believe. I think there's 11 or 12. I think there's 12. I haven't counted them today, so I don't know. But how many ever there are, if you're taking the whole group, you know, I'll give you a very good price. They're $150 each, retail from us. But you have to at least buy 2 or 3. I'm not going to walk outside and, you know, take time out of my day to go meet somebody for $150. You know, if you buy 4 fish or 6 fish at $150 each, I will meet you, and you can even, if you do click on the phone and stuff, you can come pick out the fish yourself. If you don't click on the phone, like if you didn't make friends right away, if I didn't have a good feeling about you, then I'm not going to tell you where I live, clearly. But if we did have a good conversation and things were kosher between our conversations, the few conversations that we have before you buy the fish, then, you know, chances are I might even say, okay, you can come pick out the fish at this location where I live, where the farm is located right now, okay? Which is one of the reasons why we want to get another second space where we can potentially open it to the public by appointment. You know what I mean? So you can potentially come and pick out your fish. I would like to give you guys that option. So let me know on the bottom, in the comments, if you guys want us to get a retail / warehouse space near the airport, you know. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, near the airport, so we can ship your fish all across the country and potentially around the world from Canada. I mean, our government would definitely not be supportive of it, because they make it very difficult to operate a business here in Canada. There's a lot of restrictions. There's a lot of things that we cannot get, like medications, basic antibiotics, because of our restrictive and oppressive government today. But regardless, we are still succeeding with our endeavors, thanks to the grace of God. So we can still produce these animals with all the restrictions that they try to put on us, and still supply them at a reasonable price to our customers and to stores that also buy from us. So let me know in the comments if you guys definitely want us to get a new second location. And if you would come and buy fish from us at our second location, or if you're in the eastern US or in other parts of Canada like Alberta or BC or the eastern provinces, if you would actually order fish that to be shipped to you through WestJet or through Reptile Runner or FedEx, without you know, having to be able to come and pick them up yourself, we can still provide that. So let us know that if that's something you would be interested in, and if it's cool that you know, if you think it's cool, or if you want to buy fish from us, let us know. So that would be fun. I would like to know that information. Also, I believe the channel members do get a discount. So if you are a member, like, I mean, not just saying you just became a member to get the discount and then you stop being a member, but if you're an actual channel member for at least a month or two, then you will get the members only discount when you're buying certain things. Not everything, but certain things. A lot of people that are members have bought Plecos from us, and that was cool. And there are members that are not actively commenting and stuff. There are people that are members that don't say anything, that are not on the chat group, like my personal friends. You know, some people that I deal with on a personal level and stuff that want to support what I do. You know, so there's quite a bit of members. So we are still going to keep that open, which is one of the reasons why I do want to make some content, because the people that are not my personal friends or not active on YouTube all the time, and also not on Facebook, there's quite a bit of you guys. I don't want to leave you guys hanging because you pay money and you get nothing for it. So I want to still continue to give content, at least these types of content, and obviously the videos are coming. I do have quite a bit of videos that are on the back burner that haven't been either edited or recorded. It's already written out. I have the B-roll footage already filmed for some of these videos. It's taking up space on my hard drives, so there is stuff coming. So just keep that in mind, guys and girls. But yeah, so that's why I'm trying to make these weekend live streams and let you guys see me sweating. God, this is hot out here. It is very hot out here. Okay. Again, I can spend an hour in this tank. I could probably do 2 water changes in this tank right now and I still wouldn't be happy, but I'm going to be satisfied with where we are with that one for now. And let's move on to the other side. So on this side, we're going to do, there's only a few tanks over here, so we're almost done draining the tanks. We're only doing the discus right now. I just want you guys to see how much work the discus are. And there's not a lot of discus here right now either. There are a lot of tanks, like this one's empty. This one's empty. This one's empty. The bottom one over there is empty. This top one is empty. That one is empty. Those are getting resealed. So there's quite a bit of empty tanks. And even then, just with the few tanks that we do have running, there's still a lot of work. So, you know, don't be how can I say it, fooled into believing that it's easy. If you want to keep fish, especially things like discus, it is quite significant amount of work. Although there might be things that we can do to alleviate that, and that's one of the things why I want to try out the sand situation, to see if that's going to be beneficial for the fish, which can make our lives easier to keep these fish. You know, because I've realized that the people that claim to know everything about a specific type of thing oftentimes don't know anything about what they're talking about. They're just giving you anecdotal evidences. They're giving you their one-off experience. Oh, I got them to breed when the tank was, you know, like the tank was sterile. Like there was no chance of even beneficial bacteria being in there. And then all of a sudden they get one success one, and then they're like, okay, that's the way to go. And now they do that. Like I know people that cover their tanks when their fish lay eggs. Do you know what I mean? Michael is convinced. I remember him telling me, don't put the breeding plates in the front of the tank and the fish won't lay eggs. My fish will never lay eggs in the back of the tank. I cannot get them to lay eggs in the plate in the back. They like the front plate for me. Now, it might be different for each person. My fish like me, right? So because I spend a lot of time with my fish. So there was always different ways of doing things. But at the same time, what I found is that if they're comfortable, they will lay on anywhere. But if there's a plate in the back and the front, my fish are spending almost all of its time in the front of the tank because they're always looking at the other fish in the other tanks. They're looking for me. They're looking for food. You know what I mean? When I go into any room, they come up, they greet you. You know, they're very friendly. I spend a lot of time with my fish. So clearly, you know, I don't have any friends because I do. I do have quite a few friends. But clearly I spend a lot of time with them. So it might be that, that's the factor. Um, but to me, like when people, anybody, doesn't matter who it is, like when people tell me about discus and stuff, or when I see people do it in a certain way, and they say this is the only way that works. Like coming back to what I was saying, like I have a friend who takes, like his tanks are completely whited out all around, and there's a tiny little window, like this much of space where he can look through. The rest of the entire tank is painted white from all on the outside, so you can't even see the damn fish. Do you know what I mean? And he says that's the only way discus will breed. Clearly, that's not the case because the discus here are not in that situation. You know what I mean? That's not the only way discus will breed, and is that the only way that? And then how often does he have success? Maybe one in every 4 times. He will get a spawn that works out, so he has the same level of success as almost anybody else. I want to have consistent success. I want my eggs to hatch every time. I want my fish to have 100% hatch rate. You know what I mean? If somebody can tell me that what they're doing for that works, and then they can prove to me and say, okay, this works, and I can, and just because they prove it doesn't mean that I can replicate, and I can replicate that process that they're talking about, their entire situation, in my tank and get the same results, then I'm not convinced. You know what I mean? It might be my own inadequacy. It might be at that point. Might as well be the different levels of care that we might have. I might have less time than this individual to clean the tank. I might have different type of water than this individual. You know what I mean? I might have access to different types of food. I might be feeding completely different food than him or her, right? So, I'm not convinced at that point. You know what I mean? If I can replicate it, great. If I can't replicate it, then I don't believe it because, you know what I mean? I can't replicate that same thing. I don't know. Because remember, here's the one thing I know. Like, if I had one of you guys, let's say, call me and say, hey, Malik, I want to do a video of your fish room, and you had a YouTube channel, and you're coming over here. Even if I keep my tanks dirty, which I don't, but let's say I did. Let's say my tanks were filthy, okay? My breeding tanks look filthy, and I had 100% success in my breeding tanks. I would clean those damn tanks before you guys to come and fill. The glass would be clean, the bottom would be clean. You would see a pristine environment, right? You would see all the tanks looking perfect and immaculate. But that doesn't mean that that's the situation in those tanks every single time when things happen, right? Now, add to that the factor that a lot of people that are successful with breeding fish don't like to share their secrets. They don't want to let you know what works. Like, little things like what to feed the baby fish. They wouldn't tell you because they don't want you to breed because they think if you breed, then, you're taking away from their money or their whatever, right? Now, I don't feel that way about breeding fish, but at the same time, I do know a lot of people that are like that, right? Like, and that's quite normal and it's quite common. Like, we all like to keep information to ourselves, especially secretive information. So, how can I, with the clear conscience, believe that the information that I've been given is actually accurate and honest information that actually is true, right? So that's where I'm very skeptical. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can understand, if you got this in the past from me or not, but I don't trust anybody. I can't trust a woman to live in here because sometimes women have in the past, killed fish or tried to poison my tanks. I've had that happen. So, every time I'm dating someone, that's something I always consider. You know what I mean? I cannot trust them because they're the women that I've dated at least have been extremely irrational at parts and done extremely dangerous things to the fish, or try to do that to hurt my feelings or if they're upset or something. So I have a trust issues. You know what I mean? The same way I have trust issues with people. You know what I mean? In general. So it's not just women. I don't trust nobody. You know what I mean? I don't trust the government. I used to trust them a little bit, but now I have zero trust for them. I don't trust politicians. I'm going to vote for one of them, but that doesn't mean I trust them. And I don't expect anybody else to take care of me. You know what I mean? I don't expect the government to take care of me. I don't expect the politicians to take care of me. So like these are different things. And how does this relate to fish keeping? It's the same thing. How can I expect another fish keeper to help me breed fish so I can compete with them more? Like how can that be real? You know what I mean? Because they're doing this, they're trying to make money or whatever. And how can I expect them to be honest about what they're doing, right? So what I've realized through all that thought process is that I cannot trust any of the information that I have, you know. And so a lot of times it's a lot of me having to figure out certain things from my own experience, coupled with other people's experience, you know, sources that are trustworthy to some degree. You know, there are breeding reports online which you can get different people talking about their own successes. You know what I mean? That are verified by other breeders and things like that. There is some verifiable information, but that doesn't mean that even that is scientifically accurate, because that could all be anecdotal. Do you know what I mean? Like where people say, "Oh, my fish breed every time it rains." Okay, if there's a storm, my fish breed. Great. That's, you can say that's a correlation, but it's like saying that shark attacks go out when people are eating ice cream, because it does happen to be a thing. You know, this is actual truth. In Australia, where most of the shark attacks happen, you know what's the common theme between shark attacks and ice cream sales? Shark attacks and ice cream sales seem to go up at the same time, exactly at the same time. So ice cream sales go up, shark attacks go up. So, you know, one might hypothesize and say shark attacks have something to do with ice cream sales. When there's more ice cream sales, there's more shark attacks, right? I mean, it seems to be the case, and but that is not true. You know what I mean? Like, shark attacks have nothing to do with ice cream. You know, but at the same time, those two things seem to correlate with each other, right? So, what is it to say that when somebody says, "Okay, my fish breeds when it rains," doesn't necessarily mean that there's a correlation between the two. I mean, I kind of believe that there is some correlation between the two, because I mean, I've witnessed that, but there's no scientific data to prove that. It's the point, you know, I'm trying to make. Anyways, that's my little rambling rant for the day. Zandu, much love to you. I'm getting text messages. I love how you have a pile of egg casings on the glass. Clean your. I love how you leave a pile of egg casings. What egg casings? Okay, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. There's no egg casings on the glass. You mean air bubbles? Air bubbles, not eggs. Yeah, again, we're not trying to make these tanks, what do you call it, medical grade, hospital style systems. We want it to be natural. We want the fish to live in a natural environment. I find that that is the most beneficial for the fish as well as for myself. Um, okay. And a fun little side note, there was a friend of ours that went to on vacation in Costa Rica recently. He's actually a pet store owner. I'm not going to name the person, but this individual is very, very particular about keeping the tanks at a particular cleanliness. Okay, he wants the tanks to look pristine and perfect. You know, I've known him since the 90s, since I was a little kid. He's been in the hobby, you know, selling and breeding fish, and it's well known. So, and I've known his tanks for 30 odd years now. Okay, almost 30 years, and it's always like the tanks are immaculate. And comes back from Costa Rica, we're hanging out, and he tells us, "I couldn't believe how dirty the river is, and there's fish, expensive fish, that we do all this stuff breeding in this mucky, dirty, poopy, disgusting water that stinks." And I said, yes, that's how nature is. Nature is not a clean lab environment. Nature is disgusting. You know what I mean? There's mud, dirt, all these things. So it blew his mind, I think, seeing nature. And now he's a little bit more, I guess, open to the fact that, you know, animals don't live in these clear white wall rooms, you know what I mean? So that was a fun little, how can I say it, thing to discover, you know? Okay, so anywho, coming back to cleaning tanks, we are gonna clean this tank, and then there's one or two more tanks left to clean, and then it's the refill time. And then I can actually spend some time with you guys while the tanks get refilled. Okay, let's do this. Now these guys, I'm gonna give them a Prassi treatment today. Oh, somebody's messaging me like non-stop. And I think it's Jimmy, who's a friend of mine, who I told that I'm gonna live stream today. I said I'm gonna live stream for the next few hours. I hope he doesn't stop calling me and drop the live stream, because he tends to try to get a hold of me when I'm actually live streaming. This happened the last time I live streamed on Saturday too. And he's a friend and a fish keeper, and he has some discus that he's breeding. He's doing really well with them, and you know, it's his first time keeping discus, and I helped him out through the entire process. So he's doing really well with them. He's got babies now, and he's doing great. And actually ended up sending him a discus yesterday with one of my shipments, and didn't even charge for it actually, to be honest. But you know, he is a friend, so I'm not really trying to, you know, charge my friend. He does pay for his fish most of the time. The odd time when I can't help him out, I don't mind doing that. You know, and it's not just him. I helped out the store owner that bought fish from us yesterday, because I think they had there was a tank that he bought or something, and he owed him a fish or something. So he said, hey, he owes me a fish. He's gonna pay for it. Can you send me this particular fish? So I gave him the fish that he wanted, and I didn't charge the store owner, and I said it's a gift. You know what I mean? So they're both happy. They both got something out of it, and neither of them paid for it out of their pocket, which is nice, right? So like, I like to do little things like that when I can to help out people. You know, like I said, I'm not doing this to become a millionaire. I probably will become a millionaire because, you know, that's God's intention, but that is not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I love fish. You know, I love taking care of them, I love looking at them, I love feeding my fish. Don't get me wrong. Even though, you know, I know that it's not healthy to feed them too much, I love feeding my fish. I think that's one of the reasons why I love discus actually, because you can definitely feed discus constantly. They can eat a lot more than like Quecos, for example. Quecos, I feed them once a day, sometimes every other day, depending on how they're looking, how they're doing, what's going on in their tank. With discus, I can feed them 5 to 6 times a day, and they'll still eat more, and it will not negatively impact them, because they're one of those fish that is designed to retain a lot of nutrients throughout the good times. They tend to eat more, and they tend to get nice and chunky, which holds them throughout the dry period in the Amazon, when there's not a lot of food available and the fish are restricted to small pools of water, for example, okay? Small bodies of like small lakes and stuff like that. So the discus don't get a lot of food in those 4 or 5 months, and the reserves that they put on during the good times keeps them fed through the rough times, you know? So that's one of the reasons I think why you can overfeed the discus compared to like the Quecos, which tend to get bloated really easily. So that's, you know, again, different things that you learn every day, or you think about and then you understand, or you talk to people and then you try to, you know, do different experiments. You talk to various professionals that have various expertise in various fields, and then you get to some kind of common understanding, which advances our collective understanding of the animal that we're keeping, you know. So, yeah. Alright, so once we finish these last 2-3 tanks, I will start refilling them, and I can actually answer your questions. So if you have questions, hold off on asking them on the chat, unless you want to ask other chat members, which can also sometimes answer some of the questions you might have. But if you have specific questions for me, hold off on those until I start refilling the tanks, at which point I can you know, spend more time answering your questions. I hope the volume is good. I'm trying to speak as loud as possible when I'm far away from the camera. I don't have my microphone. I forgot to set it up today. But if I did have set up the microphone like I was supposed to, I would have much better audio, because you can then hear me clearly, regardless of what part of the room I am, because it's a wireless lav mic that attaches to my shirt essentially, and it can give me a good audio signal, so the stream has very consistent audio. That's something I think I find with the iPhone that is kind of troubling, is that when you change the cameras, like the front camera and the back camera and stuff, the audio changes in quality. When you're closer to the camera or when you're zoomed in, it becomes louder. When you're zoomed out, it becomes not as loud. So it's a smart technology that's trying to do the job of the human and trying to compensate, I guess, for human inadequacies, or like we're not all like camera people. You can all go, like, I did go to school for film production, so I do understand how this stuff works quite a bit more than the average person. It's trying to compensate for that discrepancy, but it doesn't always work in my application, because sometimes I'm filming the tank from far away while also talking to you behind the camera close up. So if the volume is like a lot higher than it should be at that point, sometimes the opposite happens where you might not hear me so clearly. So I apologize if the audio quality is not great right now. If you do hang in there, I will try my best to answer all your questions and potentially have a bit better audio, hopefully, when I'm sitting closer to the camera and engaging with you guys directly. Okay? But thank you so much, everybody, for joining today. So it's great if you guys are joining today and cleaning tanks, or have taken a break from cleaning tanks, hanging out at home, relaxing, drinking a beer, having a coffee, reading or whatever you might be doing, depending on what time you are in the world, where you are in the world. I'm really grateful for all of you that have joined. And if you had any questions, I'm sorry I'm not getting to them right now because I'm still cleaning, but as soon as I'm done and go back to refilling, I will start answering questions. Okay, and here we go. I mean, again, I can spend an entire hour cleaning this one tank. I could fill this tank up right now and clean it again, and I still probably wouldn't feel like cleaning it again, because there's always a little speck of dust somewhere which I don't like, whatever. Mind you, I don't mind algae. I do not mind algae. I kind of like algae. If there's green algae growing on the grass and stuff, I don't clean it. The reason these tanks are quite nice in this part of the house is because Michael's very, very particular about not having algae on the grass. He likes to have the grass looking like a hospital, essentially. So he cleans them pretty religious. I mean, mind you, I am very grateful for it. But I do also think that some algae is not bad for your fish. Especially like a small amount of green algae on the bottom of the tank, for example. I found in my personal experience to be the most healthiest for all fish. Just because there's a lot of life living in that algae, so it breaks down a lot of the food and poop and waste and stuff. The bomb doesn't seem to build up as much. There's definitely less mess when there's a little bit of algae in the tank. So something to consider. You don't want your tanks to be like a hospital all the time. Although grow-out tanks, it is nice to have clean grow-out tanks. There's definitely benefits to everything, right? So it's easier to clean this tank because I just put the wand in and suck out all the poop. I don't have to worry about, the sand and this and that and the third, which is nice. So there's definitely a plus to that as well. So, took way too much water than I intended to, but hey, it is life. All right, last tank to drain. Let me put this wand in here. Going for you guys, and I fix the camera. Okay. Are we still live? Yes, there's 31 of you watching. Amazing. Great. Thank you for watching the live stream, guys. All right. Here's the camera. Came down. There we go. And we're cleaning this tank right now. All right. Okay. I will get your questions after I drain this tank. This is the last tank I'm going to drain down here. So it's quite a bit of poop in here. This is only like I would say 36 hours since the last cleaning. At most 48. I don't think it's been 48 hours. I think it's maybe maximum 36 to 40 hours since these tanks were last cleaned. So yeah, them discus poops a lot. We should call them poop-a-lots, not discus. You know, they poop so much. God, they poop a lot. It's insane. I can't explain how much these guys poop. But they are cichlids, so, and they do eat a lot. These fish are fed several times a day, 3, 4, 5 times a day. Generally, if I'm home, it's many, many times. If I'm working full time, they get the 3 times or 2 times a day, but then they get more food per time each time. So there's a lot of food just sitting there that they can eat throughout the day, which seems to dirty up the tanks a lot faster. But again, the fish need to eat. The bottom line, the fish need to eat. And another observation I have with the discus sphere upstairs in the living room, which we will look at, that tank, the fish were not eating for almost 2 weeks. And every day I put in food into that tank. And the food, I didn't have to siphon it out at all. Like, I barely had to clean the tank. That tank has the least amount of maintenance because there's snails living in the sand bed, and they seem to do a really good job keeping the sand bed as well as the bottom of the tank poop free. And uneaten food gets eaten by the snails and then disappears and goes into the filter as nitrates or ammonia and nitrites, and gets broken down and then gets removed with the water change. So really great. And for anybody that's saying that the snails are going to be detrimental to the eggs, we'll go look at the tank now. These snails are definitely not detrimental to the eggs because every single egg in the clutch, minus maybe 4 or 5 eggs, hatched. So it's a very successful spawn. My experience with snails, with pond snails and various other like common snails like bladder snails, as well as the Malaysian trumpet snails, generally seems to be that they are not eating any good eggs. I have caught snails eating eggs that have gone bad, but they will swim right over the good eggs because I feel like maybe it's not rotting enough for them to eat, so, or decomposing. Live eggs do not seem to be on the menu for bladder snails or regular pond snails or Malaysian trumpet snails. Now there was a few months in December and January where I was somewhat convinced that my Malaysian trumpet snails were eating my zebra pleco eggs because I did catch them in the caves fighting the dad to eat some clutches. But then I did realize that the problem was that my pH meter was not working, and I was reading a pH of 7 while the pH was actually 8 points whatever, and so it was above 8, but I was reading 7. So when I was reading it at 6.5, it wasn't even 7.5 pH. So the eggs were not hatching at all, and which is what the snails were eating, was the unhatched rotting eggs. And so I'm now back to keeping the snails in there. I haven't removed any of them, and I've had quite a bit of spawns since then. I think at least 3 or 4 spawns in the tank, and there hasn't been any issue. Basically the fix to that problem was the calibration of my pH. Now, if I were to make, let's say, a video about that at the time, or if I didn't think about it any further and said, Malaysian trumpet snails eat your zebra pleco eggs, therefore you cannot have them, and I put that information out there, everybody that is trying to breed fish that has not had success, that has Malaysian trumpet snails, would assume that that's the case, would dump chemicals into their tank, try to kill the snails, or remove the sand, and do all these things, although that has no correlation to actually why the eggs went bad. Do you know what I mean? So that's something I find, that's actually one of the reasons why I kind of said a lot of the things I said today, because I know for a fact that a lot of the things that we believe to be true are not necessarily true. There's a lot of times we would think, oh, this is what's causing this. Just like the ice cream and the shark situation. In Australia, when ice cream sales go up, shark attacks also seem to go up. There seems to be a clear correlation. If you plot them on the graph, ice cream sales go up like this, Shark attacks also go up like this. Now, does that mean ice cream sales have anything to do with shark attacks? Not a damn thing, right? So these are things to consider. I mean, these are things I at least consider now as a more, you know, intelligent person that is trying to understand what is real compared to what is anecdotal or what is just you know, like in like not correlations that seem to happen, like, you know, at the same time. Like, yeah, your fish do breed when the temperature drops. Now, a lot of people say do a cold water change. You don't actually need to do that. The temperature drop might only have to be a half a degree, but doing a cold water change definitely changes the temperature by a few degrees, which, you know, brings to the ideal temperature where your fish might be more conducive to breed. Do we have to do a cold water change? Is it just simply enough to do, you know, to drop the temperature on your thermostat or on your thermal controller for your tank, which might achieve the same results? Yes, you know what I mean. So when people say, "Oh, fish breed with a cold water change," it might not be accurate, you know, but a lot of people believe that that is the case, right? The defining factor is the change in temperature, not necessarily the cold water change. You know what I mean? So there's all these different misconceptions, you know, different things that we believe in the hobby that are not necessarily actually scientifically true or evidence based. You know, one thing about being a scientist or somebody that you know wants to, you know, do things based on logic is to follow the evidence. If you follow the evidence, and if it leads you to some, you know, something, and if you can replicate it over and over, and then that same conclusion keeps coming up, then chances are that's the case. But again, there could be things like the shark attacks and ice cream situation, right? So, anywho, we're done draining tanks, which is great. So let me go put this guy away. While we're doing that, we can also look at some of the other fish in this part of the world. Alright, so this is our kitchen sink or shop sink. Show you guys how that looks. There we go. That's our sink. The tap does not work, but we do have a way to get water in there, to wash things, to clean things, you know, all that good jazz. So it's a pretty nice, handy dandy thing. The tanks that are not being cleaned right now, got some black angels growing out. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous fish. What's going on, Jeff? What's going on, Stubbs? What's going on, Bunny? And Connor. Okay, so got all these angels growing out. Got the leftover black rams in here. We'll look at the good ones, but there's good ones still in here. But a lot of these guys on the bottom are what we're gonna feed our red-tailed catfish today. They have some deformities. Now again, we produce about 1,000 black rams a month, and we sell about 1,000 black rams a month. What you're looking at is out of about 5,000 rams, what has been left behind over the last 2-3 months that we bred and sold and, you know, gave to people and shipped all across Canada and all that. So clearly this is not all the babies that are born, but out of 100 babies there's gonna be 4, 5, 6 fish that we don't feel comfortable selling, that are not to our standards of sale, although they are expensive fish. So those fish that are not good for us to sell, like that we don't think are good enough to sell, get fed to either Bob, which is here. That's Bob right there. You can see his bum because he's turned around, but let's see the black ram that he killed yesterday that he didn't eat. There's another black ram in here right now. So he's not hungry. So Bob is not gonna get any more black rams today, but we will go feed the red-tailed catfish, who are always hungry. The red-tailed catfish do have names. One is Beatrice, that's the big one, and the smaller one is called Miss Piggy, which I think is a male. So I do think I have a male and a female pair. They're only about 6 inches now, but when I got them, they were the size of this pinky finger. They're tiny. And the store that I got them from, which is a friend of mine, which is Discount Dragon Aquarium, which is in Mississauga, they still have the exact same group of red-tailed catfish that haven't grown any bigger than the size of your pinky. So mine are able to eat those guys for breakfast now. So mine have gotten at least 6 inches, 7 inches, We'll go look at them after we're done all of this, and we'll go feed them. Aside from the black angels, and see, these are some of the black crabs we're keeping. Actually, let me get you guys a light in here so you can see them clearly. I don't know why this light is not on. Here we go. Okay, so these are some of our breeders or new breeders that I kept back. So you know, some good quality fish here. You can see they're aggressive to each other. They're chasing. That female did not have a broken fin yesterday when I put her in, but she does have a broken fin now, the dorsal. So they definitely do beat up each other quite a bit. So these guys are ready to be separated into pairs. Some gorgeous fish in here. There we go. Super high quality. This is the quality of black crabs we sell to the market. So if you were to buy black crabs from us, this is what you're getting. Not some low grade garbage mixed breed fish, okay? And very high quality control. You can see we're not selling anything that doesn't fit our standards, okay? If I'm a fish keeper and if I don't want to keep that fish to breed with it, I'm not selling it to you, my friends. So that's the bottom line. We do have baby angels growing out, quite a bit of them. We have some breeding pairs here. Gorgeous. We're gonna put some more breeding pairs together. There's a couple more pairs upstairs. We might see them when we go up there, remind me. Yeah, so back on angelfish breeding. And also really cool surprise, we have baby rainbow shiners, which were bred by Michael Page. Sorry, oh, fish easy. These are baby rainbow shiners. Gorgeous little things. They are growing up. They're doing great, and I'm very excited for them. So that's where we are with our rainbow shiners. We do have babies. So yeah, very happy about that. All right, so time to refill some tanks. Let's do this. Alexa, set tank refill timer.
Tank refill timer, 45 minutes, starting now.
Thank you. Why is this? Oh, yeah, it's unplugged because there's no fish in there. Okay. I kind of, oh my god, you guys, I panicked so hard because I looked at the temperature controller here, one of these, and it was reading 78 or 76 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a tank where I have discus, and I don't like the temperature drop below 82, okay? I like to keep the temperature above 82 degrees Fahrenheit. As a result of that, I panicked because I saw the temperature being 74 and the thermal controller being on, and I was like, whoa, that's not good. But it turns out I panicked for no reason, as always. There was no fish in the tank, so great. I mean, no complaints there. All right, let's turn off the heaters here. And Alexa, set tank refill timer 4 minutes.
You already have a timer called tank refill.
Okay.
Please set a timer with a new name.
Alexa, set timer for 4 minutes.
Second timer, 4 minutes, starting now.
Alexa is good, but she's not that smart. Anywho, so we're refilling the tanks. What power strip? Where's the power strip? I don't see a power strip. You mean this guy? That's a, what do you call that thing? A level. Yeah, it's a level. Sorry. First class fish. Oh, are you talking about this power strip? This guy here? Yeah, I mean, it's not in the most ideal place, but these are old school tanks. They don't really leak. I just resealed this tank like a few months ago, and this one about 4 or 5 months ago. So these are brand new reseal tanks with 5/8 inch or half-inch thick glass. Look at the size of this glass. It's thick as hell. Very heavy, very high quality glass. So I'm not worried about these tanks leaking. So we do have power strips, but essentially, if it was up to me to rewire this place, I would want my power strips hanging from the ceiling, right between tanks, not on top of the tanks or not below the tanks at all. But again, I don't own this house, so there's not much I can do with that. So we are working with what we have, but I do trust these particular tanks because of how they're built. They're built by this gentleman named Bob Wilson, who has been keeping fish since 19, I think he got his first discus in 1954. So he's been keeping discus since 1954, but he's been keeping fish since the mid 40s, before the Second World War. Okay, he's really old now. He's above 90 years old, but he would not never tell us his age. He always says he's only 80 years old. But we did the math, and he is actually over 90 years old. So all these tanks in this part of the house are from him. These used to be his tanks, and year before last year, he retired from the hobby, so he gave a very good deal to Michael for all the tanks and the stands and the protein skimmers and the calcium reactors and all the things that he had set up, and as well as the central loop that he had going for water and air. We're still using the exact same pump that we got from him, and we also still have some of his discus breeders here. Actually, just one left breeding, as well as a lot of the babies that were produced out of that fish. Oh yeah, no, these tanks, thank God, they're very, very well built. So majority of the tanks here, the big ones, are from him, and the rest of the tanks in the house are obviously from various different sources. But I do have tanks that are from like 25 years ago and stuff like that. There's one tank I have that's about 27 or 28 years. I haven't had to reseal it yet. It's still holding water. I still have fish in it. We looked at it. We were just cleaning that tank, and it's 27 years old, 28 years old now, maybe more actually now that I think about it, because it's the first tank I got when I was in Canada, and my dad bought it for my birthday, 15th or 16th year birthday. So I remember that very particular tank, and it has sentimental value, and I still haven't had to reseal it. I find the tanks that are built now are built to much lesser quality even than those tanks 30 years ago. So I did have this one tank which was older than myself. These tanks are also probably older than me, but this one tank my friend gave to me. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. So yeah, so that's the one thing about refilling. I'm gonna have to stop every once in a while and go get the water. Alexa, water pump on. Alexa, set timer for 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Second timer, 3 minutes and 30 seconds, starting now.
Okay, so I find that the tanks that were built, everything that was built 30 years ago was built better, with the much higher standards, because I bought tanks in the last 5 years and stuff that were not built 30 years ago, and I found the quality to be like a fraction of the quality of, for example, of this tank. This is my first tank in Canada, and this was bought in 1995 or 96. So do the math. It's almost 30 years old. I would say 96. So 28 years old, this tank. And I still have fish in him. I trust the glue. Hasn't started leaking or hasn't sprung a leak. Hasn't had any issues. I don't even think I have a chip on this tank because it's like ½ inch or 5/8 or something like that. Like thick glass, very thick glass, very heavy, not easy to move, but they're well built. Okay, let's get to some questions. But I'm gonna go over some of the guides and see what I think. I priced out some glass which went. Oh yeah, glass. Everything's gone up since COVID. And Bunny says, Anthony, do you think you could build the tank yourself? Surrogate built has all kinds of videos that. Oh yeah, I've seen his videos. The old tank glass is twice as heavy. versus the new aquariums. Yes, also the rainbow. You know, I love that rainbow in the sunshine. Um, okay, you add then kicks, high tech with it. Okay. Do you have platinum pro scale angels? Yes, Jeff. We do have platinum pro scales angels. Um, we have babies right now. There's no adults available for sale. I have about 30 adults that I'm keeping for myself to put together about 10 12 pairs. And once I put the 10 12 pairs, whatever is remaining, I'm going to give it to someone for really cheap, because they're still going to be very good quality fish. These are fish that I've hand selected out of like several thousand fish. So every fish that I have up there, that I'm saving for us is cream of the crop. I had about 50, and my cousin from Montreal came and took 20 of them from me over the last 2 trips. I'm not happy about it, but he is my cousin, and I love him. And he's helped me. Those fish are actually originally from him. He's the one who developed the line, and perfected it to the point of giving them to me, and then I got them to be what they are today: the longer fins, the high body, the erect fins instead of groupie fins. I perfected it to the AAA grade, but he's the one who created the line originally. So he wanted some fish back because he was on vacation for a long time and he didn't have any breeders left. So he came and took 20 of my fish, which I was like kind of upset about. But he's still my cousin, and so he ended up taking them. Alexa, stop. Which is nice. So, anywho, I gotta go turn some taps on. Give me a second. Okay. Who did I miss? What was that? Dars Aquatics. Yeah, hey. What's going on, bud? Alright, I'm gonna put some prime into my water reservoir, which is filling up right now. Check the temperature. Temperature is good. Oh, Seachem safe. Smells like ass. Smells worse than ass. This is like dirty ass. It's disgusting, this stuff. Oh my god, it smells so bad. Ugh. Every time I open this bottle, I'm just like gagging. Ugh. Okay. Ugh. I don't know why I smelled it the second time, but it stinks so bad. So bad. Anywho, so we're done that tank. Now we're gonna do the other Pleco tanks. We have a system. Alexa, water pump off. Okay. Of filling based on what's in the tank. There we go. Alexa, set timer for 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Second timer, 3 minutes and 20 seconds, starting now.
Okay. Which Plecos do I have now? I have L399s. I have L340s. I have Zebra Plecos, which are the L46. I also have L236 Super Whites. We're getting at least 50 more in the coming weeks to start new breeding groups with them. So we're getting about 50 Super Whites from Europe in the next, I would say in the next month or two. It's been on the works, so we're working on that. We also have L199s. We have L56 breeding right now. We have L1, yeah, I said L199. L15s, which are not breeding yet. We have L134s, which have not bred in this house yet. What else do we have? We are working on getting L173s soon as well. And we're getting L260s when they come in from Brazil the next time, or Colombia. We also have L280s, but I only have 3 or 4 of them, so I need to get some more to get them to breed. And we have L4s 471 group that is young and ready to start breeding soon. And we also have the super red whiptails, which are the L010A red lizards. And we have two Apitanos that are red that I'm not planning to keep because there's only two fish. So if somebody has a breeding group and they want to add two really nice red fish, message me. I can part with them for about $150 each. They're adults. They're about that big. The big female, and the male is about that big. And you can have both of them for $300, and they're worth about $300 each. So, what did I miss? What are your thoughts on L114 cactus? Oh, they're gorgeous fish. Anthony, when I reseal, do not cut out between the... Yeah, me neither, Bunny. I do not cut the glue between the tanks because it's a pain to get it back together. So I cut all the glue until the seal, and I reseal. I put a new seal around it. What I would say is, some of you guys are messaging me right now, so I'm getting all these messages. So I'm gonna get back to some of those private messages as well. Members get my phone number as well. Not all members, but if you're a cool person and we connect, I will give you my phone number. Okay. Alrighty. And the tank is almost full. And let's go change the siphon around. But yeah. All right. Alexa, stop. Alexa is definitely not the smartest cookie in the jar. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna leave you guys here for a second. I gotta go fix something. Alright. I feel like the water is less pressure than it usually is. We have very high water pressure here. That's the one thing I like about this house. One of the things I like, there's a few things I like about this house. And then there's a bunch of things I don't like. So, you know, it's like when people ask me, oh, what do you think about something? I always give that, you know, like I give that kind of balanced answer where like I don't just say, oh, I love everything about it. No, I tell you exactly my thoughts. You know, I think, okay, these things I like, these things I don't like. You know what I mean? These are things that are positive, these are things that are negative. People don't seem to like that a lot, but it's the truth. You know, there's things I like the good water pressure, I like. The layout of the house, like the way how it's built, not the greatest. Alexa, water pump on. Alexa, set timer for 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Second timer, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Starting now.
I do like the fact that it has a giant central metal beam in the middle of the house that can hold a shit ton of weight. So that's a good thing about it. So yeah, like there's things that I like about how it's built. There's things that I don't like about how it's built. What's going on nonstop? I've been doing the live all day. It's been like what? 2 hours now. So, but yeah, so, you know, there's things I definitely really like about it. There's things that I really don't like about this house, you know. The fact that I don't own it is one of the things I don't like about it. Because if I owned it, I could do much more modifications to the house, right? So things like that, you know. There's pluses and minuses. Life is never, you're never gonna be 100% happy with anything unless you're going to heaven. Then you could be 100% happy because you're going there. But the rest of the time, you're never going to be 100% happy with anything. Like, you know, if you're dating someone, there's going to be things you like about that person. There's going to be things you don't like about that person. There's going to be things that you despise about the person that you're dating. You know what I mean? Hopefully not too many things. because that would kind of suck. But you know, there's always going to be that, you know, duality. It's quite normal. Alright, I dropped something, so I had to go down, grab it. Okay. Done. Got it. Also, I'm wearing a shirt right now for you guys, but generally, if I'm in here working, yeah, it's too hot to wear a shirt. It's even hot to wear long pants, actually. I actually need to buy some shorts for the summertime because it's goddamn hot in here. Yeah, so if you guys have questions, I can't answer them now. Why didn't you tell me I've been at work? Well, I said it on the chat group, which you're not on because you have my phone number and you just, you know, expect me to message you, and I forgot. I was going to message you actually, but I totally forgot to message you because I had to catch fish all morning, and then I was gonna start cleaning tanks, and I just decided I'm gonna live stream. So it was kind of more of a spontaneous thing, and so I forgot to message you. I also forgot to message Michael to tell him I'm live streaming, and also a few other people. So I'm sorry, guys, and I'm sorry nonstop for not telling you. I should have. 310. What's 310? My birthday is July 23rd. Oh, what's going on, 310? Howdy. I was like, why everybody saying 310? Did I miss a slang word like, you know, like 304, you know what that means, right? So somebody says like, all of a sudden starts throwing numbers. I'm thinking, hey, like, what did I miss? Like, is there a new word that I'm supposed to know? Like, I don't know this word, but no, you guys are talking to somebody. Okay, what's going on, 310? So, but yeah, it's hard to keep up with the new people language. The kids these days have all kinds of new language now. You know what I mean? This whole new Pig Latin thing. I don't know if you guys have encountered Pig Latin. But now what we have is people talking about pronouns and stuff like that. That's a new type of Pig Latin. Like I have a friend at work. I don't call that person a friend because they're difficult to be around. But they like to be Zer, Zem, Zers or some shit like that. And every time they write their name, they write Zer, like Z-E-R, Z-E-M, and Z-E-S or whatever. Like, and I'm just like reading this stuff and I'm like, and I'm not even that old. Like imagine somebody that's like 40 years old, I mean that's 80 years, looking at this moron trying to, you know, comprehend what is going on in that mental ill head of theirs, you know what I mean? It's just, it's too much for me. Like I'll tell you right now, it's just too damn much for me. You know what I mean? But that's the modern world we're living in. And in our country, it's actually a criminal offense to misgender someone. Alexa, stop. Although I think that's inaccurate because if you're being honest about what they are, you're not misgendering them. The fuse got overheated, so I gotta reset this bad boy. Give me a second. Okie dokie. Alright. This is not gonna be fun. I had the pump is, I think, draining a little bit too much power. I forgot to turn off all the heaters, so that's why. There we go. If I don't turn off the heaters, see, there's another thing I don't like about this house, is that the power setup, there's not enough amperage for what I need to do here. Do you know what I mean? So I often I run into this issue of overloading my circuit when I'm running the 10 amp sump pump to refill my tanks. And it's not ideal. Again, I would like to have another 15 watt circuit down here. We do have an electrician that is a friend of ours. Michael's also an electrical engineer, so it's very easy to do, but it's going to cost money. And since we don't own the house, there's no point in doing that type of modification in a place that I don't own, that I don't plan to live and be in for more than another year or two at most. So, why am I doing that? Which is the same reason why we haven't set up an auto water changer system in the basement here, is that we don't own this house. So doing all that extra work is not going to make a lot of difference. Alexa. Damn you,
Sorry,
Alexa.
I'm having trouble understanding.
Yeah.
Please try a little later.
Alright, what did I miss? Zenny. Zenger. What's going on, Zen Ginger? Oh, hey, buddy. How you been? Alright. Oh, thank you, Zen Ginger. I didn't even know that was still active. Thank you so much. I love my moderators. Any West Coast USA fish keepers watching, I feel like not many people on the West Coast are into fish. That's actually not true. There's a lot of people in the West Coast that are into fish. I think the biggest problem you guys seem to have, especially in like places like California, is that it's expensive for electricity and stuff. And I don't want to tell people who to vote for, but if you continue to vote for Democrats, in local government, you're gonna have way less people keeping fish because it becomes more expensive. Now here in Canada, we're running into that where I've noticed that fish sales in terms of like the expensive. I'm still selling a lot of expensive fish, but people that can afford discus and stuff have become less over the last few years, especially in the last 4 or 5 years because of the carbon taxes and stuff, because it's expensive for people to live, so they can't afford to spend money on a fish. Anything under 20 bucks or so retail value seems to be easy to sell, but like especially the store here in Brampton, anything over $40 does not sell at that store, or very rarely. He sells discus for $129. $300 fish. I'll show you a $300 fish that I bought from him for $129. This guy right here, because he doesn't have a market for this. So he got this fish. It's a $300 fish. I would pay $300 for that fish. It's like a 6.5 inch, huge female, very beautiful, very gorgeous fish. 129 bucks because there's no market for them here, like in this neighborhood. You know what I mean? Because people here are new immigrants, a lot of international students and stuff. They can't afford, you know what I mean, a $300 fish. They can't even afford the $129 fish. So that's the limiting factor, I think, is that the people are not, they don't have the resources to spend on it. So that could be a possibility. But I know a lot of fish keepers in the West Coast. There's quite a lot. Well, yeah, because Oregon is a very blue state, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you guys probably have way more liberal policies than we do here in Canada. Like, I mean, even in Canada, like our provincial government is conservative. So to Americans, that will be a Republican government, or conservative or Republican type of local government, whereas the federal government is communist. So we kind of have a, I wouldn't say a balance, but it's still better than having a communist local government and a federal government. I would not want to live in a place like that. So all right, anywho, enough about politics. I gotta swap the water thingy. There we go. Okay, one down, and then a few more to go. So let's fill this because we're right here. Alexa, set timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Second timer, 1 minute and 30 seconds, starting now.
YouTube is gonna get me. I mean, here's the thing. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I seriously, like I make a couple of $100 on YouTube on ad revenues and memberships and stuff like that, which is great. I'm not gonna say no to that money. But if they want me out of YouTube, I don't give a rat's ass about it. I don't care about my job. I don't care about any of those things because none of those things control me. You know what I mean? None of those things are my God. My God is my God. So beyond that, I don't give a fuck, to be honest. I'm sorry to swear, but that's the truth. Beyond my God, which is the same God for everybody, I don't give a about anything. You know, this whole thing is gonna go to hell, and I would not care. You know what I mean? I would be happy and content and completely satisfied, regardless. It would not affect me one fucking bit. Okay? I'm actually gonna make a second channel. I'm gonna make a second channel. This is one of the reasons why I've been having a very difficult time, even live streaming, because I have a lot of things that I want to say that are not fish related. You know, we do live in a communist country right now, so it's very difficult to deal with. You know, and it's all identity politics and all this stuff. What somebody has between their legs determines their value and stuff like that. Their skin color seems to be important more than the content of their character. Alexa, stop. So I do want to talk about that type of stuff, not on this channel. So I'm gonna make a second channel eventually. I just haven't gotten around to it. There's so much going on. So I think it's not time yet for me to do that, because if it was, then God would let me have more time to do that type of stuff, right? So when it's the right time, it will happen. Anywho, yeah, that's my rant for the day. Imported for just the pennies for what they are being sold for. I know how you pay shipping and all that stuff, but the profits are so much higher, plus our taxes as well. Okay, so I'm gonna touch on that real quickly after I change the water hose here. Give me a second. Alexa, water pump off. Alexa, water pump on. Alexa, set timer for 5 minutes.
Second timer, 5 minutes, starting now.
Okay, so yes, you are right. What's going on, Fish Easy? In Oklahoma now, no LFS, and I'm aware of no closed clubs. Well, Oklahoma is a very sparsely populated state, so that might be a factor. But I'm gonna talk about this question here by JC about the profits of the fish stores. Okay, so this was something I learned at a very young age, because I had a friend who used to be the head manager for Big L's, actually, for the head office. One of the managers, and he used to manage the fish store in Scarborough for a long time. His name is Joel. Very close friend, very good guy. I don't know where he is now. I haven't talked to him in maybe 15 years, but at the time we were very, very close friends. You know, like I know him very well, and he's bought a lot of fish from me, and he's a good friend. So, you know, when he first started buying fish from me, I didn't know him all that well. And so now he's buying fish from me, and I'm getting like $1 for a fish, or $2. I used to sell angels to them for $2 each. Now these were not any fancy type of angels. They were long fin silver angels. So about a tuna sized fish I used to get $2. In the 1990s, that was a lot of money for a tuna sized fish. And initially he was reluctant to give me cash for the fish, $2 cash, because he said, if you take store credit, I can give you $2 in store credit, but I cannot give you $2 cash for the same fish. If I were to give you cash, I would only be able to give you maybe $1.50. So I was happy with the store credit because I was young. All I needed was to get more tanks, and it worked out well. So that went on for a year or two, and I got about 75 tanks, and then all of a sudden I didn't need tanks anymore. I didn't need anything from that store. Now I have a huge credit being built up, and I have nothing to buy from there. And so now I want cash for my fish. So I set up a small business, you know, got invoices and all that good jazz, and started, you know, giving fish to them for sale, so they would pay me a check. Okay, so when that happened, I noticed that I'm getting significantly less money, and they're still selling the fish. Before, they would take it from me for $2. They would sell it for like $6.99, $7.99, so it's 4 times the money. Now they're only paying me $1.50, maybe $1.25 for the same fish. Sometimes even less if they're a little bit smaller, and they're still selling them for $8.99. So they're making 7-8 times the money, right? So I always wondered, like, how is this fair? This seems unfair, whatever. What I've realized since then is that the operational cost of a place like that is in the millions. And they're not making a lot of money on tanks. They don't sell a lot of tanks. They don't sell a lot of dry goods. Fish food has a very small markup. You know, there's not really a lot of money in owning a pet store, except for the money coming in from the fish. Now, again, when you're bringing fish from other places, a large amount of fish die. A large amount of fish are not sellable. So, you know, South American tetras, for example, I have a friend who imports them, and 50% is expected to die within the first week or two. So about 50% of the fish might survive the first week or two. He quarantines them for at least a month. By the end of it, he's at 50-60% loss rate, and then whatever is left has to be sold to at a wholesale price to a pet store that is going to also suffer some losses. Hopefully not as many, because the fish have been quarantined, and now they have to make a profit to also pay for their staff, the electricity, the rent, which is stupendous, the taxes from the government, which is stupendous, you know, the carbon taxes here in Canada. If you're in Canada, you're paying, you know, a percentage of what you're paying is in carbon taxes, which is essentially hope money to the government, to hope that the government has enough power to change the weather. Like, this is literal hope money. So we're paying hope money in carbon taxes, which also adds to the price. So they have to incur all these costs and expenses, and they're making nothing at the end of the day. A lot of the pet store owners barely make enough money to pay their own bills. Like, I have a friend who owns a pet store nearby here, and he has to do a tank maintenance company. He operates a tank maintenance company just to operate his pet store. So his pet store is operating at a loss, and his tank maintenance company is keeping his pet store alive so that hobbies like myself can sell some fish to him, and also other hobbies can go and buy fish from him. Another store around here, actually on Dixie Road, a little bit further down, Alexa, stop. Further down, it's going out of business, selling the store. He actually offered it to us, and because he cannot operate, because of the margins are not worth it, he's actually spending like out of pocket to pay for the rent. So this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize, is when they're buying the fish from you, they're trying to not just pay you, they're also trying to pay their employees, they're paying their rent or their mortgage, their electrical bills. In Canada, their carbon taxes, the hope money, you know what I mean, various other expenses, the high electrical costs because of the carbon tax, you know, the hope money that we're giving to the government, hoping that they can change the weather, because the government is God in Canada, you know. So all these things have to be factored in, and which a lot of times a lot of people don't think about or factor in. And the reality is, the store should at least be able to make 4 to 5 times the price of what they pay, or more. Now, obviously, there are some items that they will not be able to make that kind of a profit. There are some items where they're going to make 8-9 times the profit, especially the cheaper items. So they have to weigh in all these things, and you know, you have to also think about our competitors. So right now, I'm producing discus, okay? And you guys can see quite a bit of them here. We're also producing angels and black rams and German rams and plegos. So these are the different types of fish we mass produce for the market, okay? Alexa, water pump off. And out of these things, you know, Alexa, water pump on. Alexa, set timer for 4 minutes.
Second timer, 4 minutes.
So
Starting
out of
now.
all these different fish, the only thing we actually don't have any direct competition for is the black rams. The black rams, nobody else is producing in the world in the quantities that we're producing them. Nobody is producing the quality of fish that we're producing. You know, like the solid black fish, nobody else is able to produce that. And nobody can give it to the stores here in Canada or the US for the price that we're offering, for the quality of fish that we're offering, okay? So we have significantly very little competition to none for the black rams. But when it comes to like these discus, for example, I'm competing, like, let's look at these wild discus real quickly so we can, you know, see some pretty fish. These are first generation from wild parents, okay? Now, when I'm selling one of these guys, okay, I want $150. That's what I'm selling them for. The store sells them for $250 to $300 at this size. You know, nice looking large fish. I'm competing with the guy catching fish in the wild that costs no dollars for him to catch the fish, and he will sell it for next to nothing because to him a dollar is a lot of money. I'm competing with that guy, okay? I'm competing with people in Asia that are producing these animals outside in vats and not using heaters and you know all these things, that have access to cheap antibiotics, that don't have a restrictive communist government that's stopping them from getting basic medication like antibiotics, that don't have a communist government that believes that they can control the weather and you have to pay carbon taxes so that they can control the weather, right? So I'm competing with all those things, right? So that person in Asia can produce this fish for pennies on the dollar and can sell it for pennies on the dollar because a dollar is a lot of money to them, right? I cannot do that because I have to pay carbon taxes. I have to pay hope money to the government. I have to pay ridiculous amounts of money to just get basic antibiotics because antibiotics are illegal in Canada under our current communist government. So for me to produce this animal, it costs me significantly more money. Now, clearly I want to get some of that money back when I sell it, but to the person like a pet store that's buying this animal, what is stopping them from taking the animals that are coming from the Far East that are significantly cheaper because their production cost is significantly cheaper than my fish? Do you know what I mean? How can they justify paying more for my fish when they can sell the same fish from somebody else that they can pay less for? Do you know what I mean? And they can make a little bit more profit and also keep their lights on. So you have to always weigh that in. So my main competition is the people in the Far East, and then the fish catchers. Now, I'm not hating on any of these people. I have no grudges against them. I'm just pointing out the reality of it is that they are able to produce this product for much lower cost. So, you know, we're not gonna make the most out of our fish when you're competing with those people. That's the reality of it. It's unfortunate, but that's the truth. So I hope that answers that question. But it is the real truth when it comes down to it. Why can a store sell the fish for so much more? Because they first have a lot of expenses. Second, they can get the fish for a lot cheaper than they can here. And with the shipping cost, it's still quite expensive. At the end of the day, shipping is a huge expense. And then also, they also suffer quite a lot of losses when they import fish, which has to be factored in to their final cost. Alexa, water pump off. As well as their operational costs, like the cost of their employees. The employees need to be paid minimum wage at least, which is quite high in countries like Canada and parts of the US. Alexa, stop. Alexa, water pump on. So all these have to be factored in, you know, and you have to really kind of weigh it all out and say, okay, this is what I can get, and maybe, you know, clearly you can negotiate. I mean, I negotiate quite a bit with the stores we sell to. There we go. And you know, try to get more at the most amount of money possible. But a lot of the stores I sell to, the managers are my friends. They always tell me like, hey man, I can't afford to pay you more than this much. This is as much I can pay. I can't pay anymore. And I had to be happy with that. You know, sometimes, you know, the guy bringing the discus from Asia, who's a friend of mine, gets the discus for like $12, $13. Then he adds a little bit of money and sells to the store, and the store, you know, sells it after. I can't sell my discus for $13 or $14. Like, I mean, my operational cost, my carbon tax is more than $14 per fish. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's the reality. Alexa, water pump off. Alexa, water pump on. The tanks are almost full, and then once the tanks are full and once I finish filling the breeder tanks with RO water, I will spend some time with you guys and answer questions, and we will also go look at the red-tailed catfish we will feed them some black rams, and then I will end the live stream. Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, that's the same thing with any animal, I think. Alexa, water pump off. If you're breeding any animal, you gotta remember the guys in Asia can breed those animals for basically free. Alexa, water pump on. And you can't compete with free. Just impossible, you know. So that's why we don't breed any live bearers or anything like that, because we just can't compete. You know, we can't compete with the 10 cent or 5 cent per fish cost of a cardinal tetra. I can't compete with that. If I were to breed cardinal tetras, it will cost me more than $1.50 to produce the fish. So per fish. So how am I going to sell them for $1 or 90 cents? Alexa, water pump off. So that's why we breed some of the higher end fish, where we can actually make a little margin, and it's actually worth our time and our efforts and money, and also the stupid carbon tax, you know. So anyway, we're done. We're done filling up those tanks. Now it's time to fill up the other tanks, the breeding tanks. It's quite quiet, actually. These guys are fighting now. I just put some fresh water in, and they're like trying to breed, and they have babies. Okay, I can't actually fill the breeding tanks without my phone. Oh, actually I can. Here, I have a switch in here. There we go. Usually all this stuff is connected to my phone, so I can turn these taps on and off with my phone, which is nice. Alexa.
Your tank refill timer is done.
Thank you. Alexa, stop. Turn the heaters back on. There we go. All right, and yeah. So that's one of the main reasons why we have to resort to only keeping and breeding some of the more expensive fish, because it is not economically viable to breed cheap fish. I mean, I love guppies, I love swordtails, I love mollies, you know, I love all kinds of different fish, but I will never keep them long term in large quantities and breed them right now in this type of facility, because it's just not economically viable. Now imagine if you had a 1,000 square foot warehouse where space was not an issue, where, you know, all the entire warehouse is heated, so it doesn't matter, it's not costing any extra money to heat the tubs that these guys would be in. We would be able to produce some of that in smaller quantities, but again, to compete with the people in Asia and stuff for that type of fish, it costs them nothing. Their fish food comes from, you know, outside. They have mosquito larvae, they have daphnia growing naturally in the sunlight all year round. So free fish food, high quality fish food, premium grade, okay? So I have to buy fish food. One, I have to heat all my tanks. All these tanks have to be, like, I mean, I'm paying gas to heat the house, okay? And then the gas is carbon taxed on top of regular taxes, okay? So like I pay sales tax, this tax, that tax, and a bloody carbon tax. Like, so about 40% of my gas cost is actually carbon taxes, which is ridiculous, but that's the country I live in. So, you know, my cost is gonna be significantly higher to produce that. Whereas they don't have any of that cost. They don't pay for water, I pay for water. You know what I mean? Jeff is laughing. Who's laughing? What did I miss? And the price of guppies is expensive now with all these different types out here. Yes, and also the shipping has gone up for fish, because, you know, they're trying to go and make us pay for using gasoline, right? So fish are shipped through air usually, and that burns a lot of gas. If the gas prices go up, guess what? Everything that gets shipped with gas goes up. Your food that gets shipped with gas, your food that gets trucked in, it goes up. So that's all a part of it, you know. It all makes, it all adds to the same expense. It just increases the price of things. So, oh hell no, you guys, trust me, Jeff. If I mean, I'm not gonna tell anybody who to vote for, but if Americans are smart enough to vote for Trump, you're not gonna have carbon taxes. You're gonna have cheap gas like you did 4 years ago, and you're gonna be able to afford to live, okay? And it would probably be beneficial to Canada because the U.S. is our biggest trading partner, and having a strong U.S. economy is always good for our economy because it affects our dollar. If your dollar is shit, our dollar is shit. So I like Trump. I'm not going to tell anybody who to vote for, but if the Americans are smart enough to vote Trump in for a second term, we will have a better future. You know what I mean? And you guys probably would not have a carbon tax if that's the case. But again, it all depends on who you vote for, you know? And once we can get this current communist government out of office, we will also not have a carbon tax anymore. A lot of Canadian provinces, actually 3 different provinces now have openly stopped collecting carbon tax. Saskatchewan, Alberta's not collecting it. Ontario, we're hoping will go the same route. We do have conservative government, but our conservatives are more like a liberal, light liberal government, I guess. So they're not doing anything yet. But if he doesn't, he probably would not get. He probably would not get elected again. So Doug Ford, or Dog Food, as I would like to call him, has some choices to make now. If he's gonna go on the communist route and lose power, or if he's gonna go on the sensible common sense route and continue to get our votes to stay in power. You know what I mean? That's just what's gonna happen here in Ontario. But yeah, in April they're gonna start increasing our alcohol taxes. So even for me to feel miserable about how miserable life is, I will have to pay a bigger tax. Was set in place decades ago. Wall Street will just make a fortune trading carbon credits. They already are. They already are making a fortune trading carbon credits. Like, you know, the people telling you that you can't drive your car, like Taylor Swift, are flying around in private jets, you know, just to go see their boyfriend and to go get McDonald's in their private jet, while telling you that you can't drive to work to go get food for your kids. You know what I mean? So, sure, I'm not denying that. I think that's a very clear possibility. You know? Oh, you guys are not happy about the cold water. There we go. So, anywho, if you guys have any fish-related questions, ask away. Well, Rob Ford was not governor of Toronto. He was the mayor of Toronto. But he was a good guy. I'm actually friends with one of his nephews. One of my best friends is Rob and Doug Ford's nephew. I've been to their house. Not to Doug Ford's house, but to Rob Ford's house. And I've met him in person too, I think a couple of times. He's a really fun guy. He's a really good guy. And I'm very close friends. Or I used to be very close friends with one of his nephews. And yeah, he was great. I loved him. He was good for the city. Unlike the current Toronto mayor, who has ruined the city, you know, like, but, you know, people in Toronto, they don't seem to care. So, again, you get what you vote for, you know, and you're stuck with these people for the next 4 or 5 years. They get to ruin your life. And everybody says there's nothing we can do because most people that are sensible enough to understand this will not go out and vote. The only people going out and voting are the purple-haired activists and the trans lobby, you know what I mean? Unfortunate, but that's the only people that are actively involved in the politics. So their candidates always seem to win. And then you wonder how we end up in situations where, you know, we're paying like 40-50% of our sales cost in carbon taxes. That's how that happens. Because, you know, you let the activists vote their people because whatever either your religion or your philosophy or ideology or whatever you've been told at some point restricts you from engaging in the political process. Even talking about this stuff, most people don't like it. You know what I mean? I get text afterwards like, why did you talk about politics? I don't like to hear about politics. Like, honestly, if you don't talk about politics, then who will? The activists? Great, right? So, mm, anywho, let's catch some black rams to feed to our red tails, and then I'll let you guys go for the rest of the day. And I'm gonna go have a beer, and I'm gonna enjoy a less taxed beer because in a few weeks I'll be paying more in taxes for my goddamn beer. You know. All right. Genuinely, I like everybody to have the right to decide whether they want to vote or not. But, like not voting is a type of voting, I guess, But I personally dislike people that don't vote for that reason. I mean, I might like them as a human being, but if somebody is not actively engaging in the electoral process by voting, um, I dislike that part about them because that is something I personally think that it's a responsibility of every human being that lives in a democratic country to get involved because 200 years ago we didn't have this. We lived under a king's rule, and the king got to decide what happened to us. And unless you were in Europe or like in England or France or wherever, if you were in a country like Sri Lanka, the king got absolute control over you. He could come take your wife, he could kill you and your children whenever he felt like it. And I mean, there's clear evidence of them doing this type of things, and nobody had any control over what the king could and could not do. And only the kings of like England and France and stuff were governed by some type of law, whereas like Sri Lanka had a very modern civilization prior to the European arrival. But what people in Sri Lanka did not have is human rights. The average citizen, 99% of the population, had no rights. You were a slave to the king, and the king had 500 wives when he wanted 500 wives, and if your daughter or your wife was one of those women that he chose, there was nothing you could do or say to stop the king from coming and taking your wife and killing you and your other children in the process. And there's documented evidence of Sri Lankan kings doing that. You know what I mean? And then you have Sri Lankans today who are descendant of the 99% of the slave class, which is like me and every other Sri Lankan that lives in Sri Lanka, that say that the Europeans took everything from us. And I'm like you mean your ability to be subjugated by a king? Your ability to be, murdered by the king to take your wife? Right, they took that from you. Great, good for you. You know what I mean? And now we have electoral system where you actually get some type of control over what happens in your life, and none of these people want to get involved. Great. How smart is this? Do you know what I mean? So it does bother me when people don't vote or get involved in the electoral process. That really irks me. You know what I mean? So that's just a personal thing. I mean, obviously I have nothing against people who don't like to vote. I just dislike that part about them is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? And I think it's personally, I think it's misguided, because what we have today is the greatest system for the average person. I get to practice my religion. I get to praise God however I feel like doing, whatever language, and nobody tells me otherwise. My king does not control my life. Although we do have a king in Canada. Canada is a part of the monarchy, right? So we have an actual king, and he is our supreme leader, not Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is going to be voted out on the next election. But we do have a king, which is the King of England. That's our king, the King of Canada. And also Australia and England and New Zealand. Okay, so very happy about this pair, doing really well. I'm testing out these eggs with them. So they hatched already. These new eggs have not. What else can we look at here? We do have quite a bit of black rams. Let's look at some of those. There we are. And Got these angels which were growing out to pair up. Really happy about those. I'm just going through the tanks here so you guys can see what we have here. So before we go upstairs, got more black rams. Mind you, these tanks were a lot more fuller yesterday. We did take quite a bit of fish out of here. And here we are. And here we go. All right. Okay, so now, for everybody that waited for the last like 3 hours, I'm gonna have a treat for you guys. We're gonna go feed our red-tailed catfish with some black rams. I got a bucket full of black rams here. Actually, let me get the camera set up before we go upstairs because upstairs is much more tighter than here. And it's gonna be difficult to maneuver this thing if it's fully opened out. So I'm gonna get it to a more manageable level. Oh, this can go in, even higher. Great. Learn something new every day. Okay. All right. Got the camera set up. We're going upstairs to feed black rams to our red-tailed catfish. Now, it is natural for animals to eat other animals. That's what happens in nature. If anybody has a problem with this, please sign off now because you're going to see red-tailed catfish eating expensive black rams. Okay? And it's very natural. This is nature. What we're dealing with is nature. Okay. I don't want to hear any slack about it. So these are two baby red, or Beatrice. That's her name, Beatrice. She's my favorite red-tailed catfish that I have because she's a pig. And the one behind the filter is Miss Piggy. Okay? So, Beatrice and Miss Piggy. All right. And let's clean the glass real quickly so you guys can see them much better. I think the glass is clean, but let me wipe it down even further. There we go. They're getting very pretty. But they're not friendly yet. You know? Mind you, I've only had these guys for a few months. Okay. All right. And we got our black rams. Okay. And we're going to feed them to our red-tailed catfish. There we go. That's it. And all these black rams will be gone by tomorrow. Let's see. Let's see if they actually eat right now. They might not be hungry. I know. They get 5 feet. There we go. There we go. Beatrice got one. Did Beatrice get one? Beatrice is about to get one. Oh, Miss Piggy got one. Okay. I like watching these guys eat. They are my favorite fish. They are one of my favorite fishes. I really like them. Sebs are pretty nice too. They are one of my favorites too, but these guys are or Bob. You know, they're not breeding animals. We're not keeping them to breed. They do have jobs, like, so the dog has a job, which is to protect the household. She does a very piss poor job at it, but that is her job. But she is big and scary, and her bark is terrifying to most people. So people don't even walk onto our driveway because they see the sign saying, you know, oh. Okay, hold on. Action. Oh my God. This guy turned the camera on and they went crazy. Here we go. Let's see. All right. They've all gotten a fish or two already, so they're kind of chowing down now. Miss Piggy's gonna come around because she's always... Oh, look at Beatrice. She's going. Oh, she got one. it's really fun to watch these guys eat. So the job for these guys is what you're looking at right now. You know what I mean? Their job is to to expend of the culls, the fish that we don't want to sell, that are not up to our standards. Now, looking around the room, you can see how much black rams we have in here. I'll show you guys a couple of tanks of black rams. Okay, so that's one. There's a big male, gorgeous. There's a pair. There's pairs in these things. Some grow outs that we're gonna keep, but another pair. Another pair. Some more babies. Another really nice pair. More pairs. A pair of German rams. Our dantums that don't do anything. Gorgeous fish though. A bunch of black rams in here. Some deaths in here. I probably should do a water change. It's quite a bit of deaths, so that's an issue. But again, there's a lot of work to be done here. More black rams. So we're producing quite a bit of black rams in this house, which is nice. And yeah, so that's where we are. And here we go. We can look at, oh, they're not eating anymore. They've already filled up. There we go. There we go. Let's try to zoom in. By tomorrow morning, all these black rams will be gone. Be like, bye-bye, black rammy. So, what's going on, Glassbox Creations, Big Steve? Yeah, so that's about it. Interesting stuff in here. There's not much more to show. I do have some water changes to do in here, so I'm going to sign off now and focus on this room and getting this water changed as soon as possible. There's a few tanks that need my attention, immediate attention. So I will let you guys go, and I will see you soon. Hopefully, I will try to live stream every Saturday or Sunday, depending on my work. Sometimes I work on Saturdays as well. The odd Sundays too, so it's whenever it comes I take it because I like to be at work. But when I am here doing water changes, and if Michael's not here and if I'm by myself, I'll try to live stream. Okay, thank you so much for watching. And where's all the streams been? Oh, it's been hectic to stream because there's always work to do. Like, I mean, even today, like, I should have been up here an hour or two ago cleaning this tank and taking care of it, and because I was late, I have quite a bit of deaths actually of baby black rams. At least 100 or 200 are dead in that tank, and I just noticed it, so now I had to fix that problem. And a lot of these tanks need a daily water change, so 150 tanks and one me and you know, Michael 3-4 days a week here helping out is not enough manpower to stay on top of all these tanks and also live stream and have a full-time job. So it's been a bit hectic, but we are doing our best. Michael live streams every Friday from 8 to 9:30, and I'm gonna try and live stream on the Saturdays between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock ish. And hopefully that's a good schedule that I can keep. But if I'm working on the Saturdays, you know, it's nothing much I can do beyond that. And then if I do work on the Saturday, I don't even know if I'll be able to move on Sunday. But if I'm cleaning tanks on Sundays, which usually I am, I will try to live stream then if I miss a Saturday. But recorded videos are coming soon, so stay tuned for those. Thank you so much, everybody. And everybody that's a member that hasn't connected to me through Facebook, if you are on Facebook, send me a message and I will get you attached to the member group chat. Thank you so much. I will see you all soon. God bless you. I love you all, and hope you have a great weekend and happy fish keeping. God bless you.